hearing this thing on repeat in my earphones. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're hailing from. Your boy Renee is here, back live on this Wednesday. I know it's a little awkward time. Usually I try to aim for noon, 12 p.m. noon. It's now 1:19 p.m. Just one of those days. Just one of those days. So apologize for the lateness here, but I am here regardless, and I am hanging out with all of you fine folk out there, whether you're watching on the horizontal traditional format or you're going to be watching live on YouTube Shorts, which I am now live on as well. So I always love to provide multiple options for people who decided they want to come and join up and hang out with me and talk about stuff like this. Got to talk about this episode of The Acolyte, because boy, oh boy, what an episode. Yeah, I have a lot to talk about, a lot to say about this episode. What's going on, Scorched? Scorch is already here in the chat. Arnold was here earlier. I think he's coming back. So nice to see you guys here. Scorch, I hope you're having a good day or a good week so far. You saw my A24 list and you commented. Okay. When did you leave the comment? Because usually I get notifications for comments, but I don't think I got one for that one. But I'm glad you got a chance to check that out. Hold on, give me 1 second, guys. I'm experiencing some audio tech. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me okay? I'm having some weird audio stuff in my headset. All right, let's see here. Okay, everything should be fine now. I hope. It's amazing that for something that I know a lot of people use, the software is so buggy. But anyway, you left 3 comments. Okay, I'll check them out. Like I said, usually I get notifications on these things, but for some reason I didn't with yours. Yeah, they're not showing up in my notifications. Very weird. Yeah, I'll check them out later afterwards. Unless you want to tell me what you thought about it now. Shadow banned? Why would you be shadow banned? If that's true, then you wouldn't then you wouldn't be able to be chatting here. They're on part 3. All right, let's take a look. We'll wait. We'll give some time for some people to come on in and kind of come on in. Come on in. Let's see. This was a while ago, so let's see here. Show all. All right, so which one did you leave a comment on? Because there's a draft 1 to 5, rounds 1 to 5, and then rounds 6 to 10. And then I did an episode where I reviewed A24's first movie, part 3. So I'm assuming that's 6 to 10. Okay. Let's see here. Weird. No comments. I'm not joking. Whatever comments you left, somehow, for some reason, just did not stay. They're not under review. Nothing. I don't know what to tell you. Just another case of YouTube effing up. Congratulations on the first comment on the stream, on the vertical stream there. I don't know your name. I can't read that. I don't know if is that Russian? But thanks for chiming in. No, there's no comments at all, which is bizarre, according to my instance of YouTube. Hold on, let me see. I know this is very thrilling content for everyone watching, wondering what the hell's going on here. But I just wanted to see something real quick. Let me, hold on. Oh, it does. It lets me search my own. Okay. Very cool. Be very, very quiet. Yeah, it's weird. So it's showing, all right. I don't know what's going on here with YouTube. It's very bizarre. So it's showing that there are 2 comments on the video, but it's not displaying any of them. Oh, what's up, Alex? Hope you're having a good day, or had a good day. I don't know what time it is where you are. Get ready for some exciting, I promise there's going to be some exciting Star Wars conversation happening in just a little bit. Just looking at some stuff right now. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is not showing on my end at all. It's so weird. I don't know. Let me see. Held for review. Usually if it's like held for review, show hidden comments. Show. It's not showing up in hidden comments, not showing up in held for review. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not coming up at all whatsoever. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Do you think this has happened to you before in other videos you may have commented on? By the way, if you are watching live here, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. I promise you we're going to get into some fun Star Wars discussion here, especially with episode 5 of the Acolyte. Okay, so you saw, okay, so you listed out the movies that you've seen from our list. It lets you comment, but doesn't display them no matter the channel. Wow. So you have experienced this before. What kind of comments do you leave there, Scorched? and or in for you to be on YouTube's radar like that. Okay, so list out your top 10 right here. Let well, yeah. I could see that. I mean, that word is just not something that should be said today, but it's I'm of two minds when it comes to that because I grew up during a time when that word was thrown around so much, right? It's almost like desensitized at this point, but I get it. So your top 10. So are you listing them bottom to top or top to bottom? Let's see here. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Burning atmosphere. What's burning the atmosphere? Boring atmosphere? Well, what atmosphere would make it more exciting for you, Alex? Oldest to newest. Okay. So your list is Ex Machina, Green Room, De Palma, Florida Project, Uncut Gems, Green Knight, Man, Talk to Me, Iron Claw. You're gonna add Tusk in there too? Okay, that's interesting. So it's funny because that conversation I had on that episode was about a year ago now, I think. So obviously, there's a lot of new movies that have come out since then, since we had that discussion. I think for me personally, Talk to Me and Iron Claw could possibly be now in my top 10 list of A24 movies. Um, I'm trying to think if there are anything is there if there's anything else along with that. Uh, I can't think of it at the moment. A24 has definitely increased their production as far as movies are concerned, but the ones that stood out to me in the last year is definitely Iron Claw and Talk to Me. So, I mean, your list is great. I mean, a lot of those movies on your list I've seen. Well, I've seen all of them, um, and I do like them. The only one I would question, just for me personally, is a Green Knight because I thought Green Knight for me was kind of too weird and boring in a way. Um, I just didn't get it. It didn't hit me. But I know there are some people who said they loved it, so maybe it's just me. I don't know. That was just something that for me personally, I just couldn't. It just didn't get me. It didn't capture me. Tusk is bad. It is bad. Although I will give it to Kevin Smith for trying something different. He got into this weird phase of his movie career where he was very much experimenting with a lot of these weird kind of like horror tropey type of movies, but with weird spins. I did like Red State of his. I thought Red State was actually pretty well done. Uh, um, and then and then Tusk, and then Yoga Hosers. It's very much like um, Canadian based movie filmmaking, right? That he got into like a Canadian groove for a while. So I always found that to be kind of interesting. Alex, I did not listen to the new Metallica album. How is it? I've stopped listening to Metallica for a while. Obviously, I there was a period of my life where I was into more metal thrasher music. Maybe I would say probably going back to when I was in high school. Um, but I feel like I've kind of fallen out of that for a very long time. No, same with Black Sabbath. I mean, those are um bands I used to listen to long, long time ago. I used to listen to Slayer, Metallica, Sabbath. I was big into Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, all those things. But I know just the old school stuff. I don't know anything about what has happened since. Watch Swell Entertainment talk about Green Knight. She is cute. Kevin likes loves to cry at Marvel movies. I used to like Rage. Yeah, Rage Against the Machine. I used to like them. What do I listen to now? It depends on my mood. I mean, I'm like kind of like all over the place, honestly. I listen to a lot of 80s music. I listen to movie soundtracks sometimes. I definitely don't listen to anything new. I'm very much still listening to music from like the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Yeah, I don't even know a lot of the new artists today, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I know like Dua Lipa and Taylor Swift and things like that, but I'm pretty much all over the place. If you look at my playlist, it's just a mixed bag of everything. Oasis was a band I used to listen to. That was like in my other phase. So obviously, I went through my metal phase, and then I went through like a grunge phase, and then I went into like one of like the in between phase. So like Oasis kind of fell into that because there was I got into like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, um, Soundgarden, all those things, and then I slowly got into other stuff. Weezer has always been a favorite of mine. Smashing Pumpkins, Oasis kind of falls within that category for me. Yeah, it all depends on the kind of phases I've been through in my life. Like I had a skateboarder phase, I had a rave phase, I had a hip hop phase. Growing up in New York, you're surrounded by so many different types of music. So it's easy for anyone to get into anything, really. Well, I'm from New York, so East Coast all the way. So, of course, Biggie's my guy. What about you? I love how we're talking about music on a Star Wars episode. So, but I promise we'll get into the Star Wars conversation in about 5 minutes. I usually like to wait a little bit so that more people can tune in. And again, like once there are two formats going on right now: traditional format and vertical. So depending on which version you like to watch, it's both available there. Episode 3, Alex, of this series or of the Acolyte or of the Star Wars movies? Star Wars movies. Okay. When it comes to the prequels, I've said this before. Obviously, I am of a generation who just loves the original trilogy. Um, The prequels was definitely interesting. It was not what I was expecting, and at the time when they first came out, I really didn't like them at all. I still don't think they're great movies, but in time I've learned to appreciate them because I've seen them through the eyes of a younger generation. And I know a lot of younger people grew up watching those prequels, that being like maybe their first exposure to Star Wars, or that's the Star Wars that they could claim is theirs, right? Where my generation claims the original trilogy as our Star Wars, a younger generation was able to claim the prequels as theirs. And then, like, moving forward, there's another generation who are claiming the sequels to be their Star Wars, right? So it's very generational at times, but I have learned to appreciate them. I still don't think they're great movies, but if anything, out of the three, episode three was definitely the better of the three prequel movies. And I still think Attack of the Clones is the worst of the three. But having had a chance to rewatch The Phantom Menace again in the theaters recently, I think I did this last month. Um, it was nice to kind of experience it with a younger crowd because I saw sons with their dads, you know, daughters with their dads, with their moms, and I could tell that this was their first time watching it on the screen, or if at all ever. And I could see how excited they got, you know. And I said, it reminded me, it's like, yeah, this is what Star Wars is. Star Wars is really for kids, you know, or for a generation, you know. So what about Ahsoka? Anakin versus Ahsoka? What do you mean? Scorch, going back to your comment, when it comes to Rage Against the Machine, the one thing I love about those guys is the guitarist. What's that? Tommy? I forgot what his name is. But the way he was able to really like come up with inventive sounds on the guitar is fantastic. He's like one of the best guitar players around. Tom Morello, that's it. Yeah. I mean, that guy is amazing. Slash was always my guy when I used to play guitar back in the day, but Tom is like, that dude is on a whole other level. Oh, Clone Wars was your favorite as far as like the prequel movies? Okay. Again, different generation, I think. I'm probably assuming I'm gonna assume that you're probably younger than I am. So, Scorch, you like West Side hip hop? So you're a Tupac guy? I have nothing against Tupac personally. It's just that style of hip hop was, oh, Biggie has always been my guy. And again, it's easy for me to kind of choose because I am here in New York. I'm, you know, East Coast, so I do tend to lean more towards the East Coast style of hip hop and rap. I'll still never forget. It's funny because I'll never. Yeah, I'm like you, Alex. I also respect them all. You know, it's just I guess people always have a preference, right? So, but I'll never forget the first time I bought a rap album. It was cassettes, obviously, for me growing up. So I remember I went to a local mom and pop music store, and my first ever uh, rap album that I bought on my own was Run DMC's Tougher Than Leather. And I remember bringing that home and listening to it like all night on my little Walkman player. And it was just amazing. I just loved it. And I remember going to school the next day and say, "Hey guys, look, I got the new Run DMC album." And I was like, "No way." And I was like, "Yeah." And you know, we were having talks and conversations about it. You're 25. Okay. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense that you would have more fond memories of the prequel Star Wars movies. Have you been watching the Acolyte? Because we're about to. I'm about to go in on the Acolyte right now. So also, I want to apologize too. If I start talking and you hear me just sounding weird, mainly it's because my allergies. I'm having a bad allergy day today. Just in case, like, you just hear me kind of cracking or struggling with my speech and all that. The weather here in New York has been pretty wild and all over the place. So just it's throwing me off a bit. All right. While we wait, or while I wait to find out if Alex has seen the Acolyte or not, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but obviously every Wednesday we talk about the latest episode of the Acolyte. What's going on, Key Plays? Nice of you to chime in. Hope you're having a good day, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know where you're from, but thank you for saying what's up. We are talking about Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 5. So this was obviously the latest episode that released last night here in the States. And it's, I think a lot of us who are at least those of us who are still watching The Acolyte, I have a feeling after last week's episode, there was like a huge amount of probably drop off. If people haven't already dropped off from the episode prior to that. And the reason why I say that is because I do find that there is a lack of interest now when it comes to the Acolyte amongst more general viewers, I guess. I posted a poll on my YouTube channel several weeks ago. I'm just going to quickly mention this because it kind of sets the mood of what's going on in the atmosphere right now. I put up a poll. I want to say this is going back to, let's see here. June 5th. All right. This was like around the time that the Acolyte debuted, right? And I asked basically, what are your thoughts on the Acolyte episodes 1 and 2? And out of 27 votes, 67% of people said yay. That means they're liking it. 33% people said nay, that they weren't really enjoying it at all, or they didn't think it was good at all, right? So I posted an updated poll last week because we are now halfway through the season, right? And I said we're 4 episodes in. I'll share this on the screen too so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I said, we're 4 episodes in, halfway through the season of the Acolyte. What are your thoughts so far? This time I got 44 votes. Only 23% people said they like it, and 77% of people said, what a hot mess. So I do feel like there is, once again, divisiveness amongst the fans, Star Wars fans. And obviously, I'm not even including all the vitriol of this is too woke or things about Leslie Headland and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. What's going on, T? I don't know why I still watch it. I guess I like pain. Well, I'm sorry you feel like you're going through torture as you're watching it. Alex, you've never seen the Acolyte. Okay, hopefully we won't spoil anything for you today. D, what's going on? Nice to see you back here. Hope you're having a good day, good week so far. Thank you for your comment and for watching and for chiming in. Again, everyone, don't forget, hit that like button. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. You'll make this guy right here happy and put a huge smile on my face. So for those of us still watching, many of us were anticipating this episode because we got left with a major cliffhanger in episode 4. Obviously, we are at a point now where The big reveal is about to happen. Who is this mysterious, shadowy guy? You know, is he a Sith? Is he just someone who practices dark side of the Force? All of this stuff, right? And I think the big thing that went out there was a lot of people were wondering, well, this guy seems to be very overpowered. Shows up and in 2 moves was able to push Osha way out of the way and was able to force push what feels like 10 Jedi, 7 Jedi, I don't know. A lot of freaking Jedi, right? All in one shot. And people were complaining that, oh, this guy just seems a little bit too overpowered. Who is this guy? You know, especially someone who we haven't seen in, display their powers and all that at all. And who is this person? I think that was like the biggest thing. So obviously we were going to wait to see what the reveal was today or last night in this episode. Alex saying, I think stream for Star Wars fan base. Key plays. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate the road to 10,000 as we get towards 10,000 subscribers. So definitely appreciate the assistance there. Are we still selling the custard? I don't know who was selling custard, but if it's good, I want some because I like me some custard. All right. So episode 5 picks up immediately after what happened in episode 4. Now, I'm not going to get into spoilers just yet. I will in a couple of minutes after just give my brief thoughts on this episode. And obviously, yes, there was a big reveal that happened, and there was a lot of surprise stuff that happened in this episode that I personally was not expecting, right? I was not expecting. Flumi. Now I remember. Yes. You're talking about the Only Flan. Flumi, for you, the Only Flan is always available for the right price. What? Nice to see you back. Nice to see you in the chat. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. How have you been, man? Hope you're having a good week, good day. Just here talking about Star Wars. But that's a great callback. Thank you so much for reminding me about that. That was really funny. I still need to make that T-shirt. Only Flan. Then maybe that could be something I could sell. Who knows? Good to hear you've been good, man. And again, I really appreciate the chat and all. So surprise stuff, big reveal, probably some of the best Star Wars Jedi fighting that I've seen in a very long time. The choreography of the fighting here and the cinematography of the fighting was done very well, I thought, in my opinion. Very cool stuff here. And then we definitely see where things are going to go. And I will have to say that there's kind of a lot of flip-flopping going around. That's one of the biggest problems I have right now, is that there seems to be a lot of flip-flopping, especially with one particular character. But overall, it was an interesting episode. It was, again, moments that surprised and shocked the hell out of me. The big reveal was something I was already expecting. I think I called it in the last week's episode. And now moving forward, I'm wondering now, what is the motivation? Because it seems to be changing week to week. And that's the one thing that's kind of like upsetting me about this series right now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. If I were to give this a Letterboxd rating, I don't do half stars, but I would probably give this a 3.5 star. Extra bonus points because of the fighting. The Jedi fighting, the saber fighting is probably some of the best fighting we've seen in some time. And the shock value, because there definitely was shock value moments in this episode that I don't think any of us was expecting to see. So yeah, so it's a very, very interesting, but it's very hard to talk about this particular episode without spoiling things. So I'm going to hit this spoiler tag right now. Again, for those of you who haven't seen it, that don't want to be spoiled, this may not be a good time for you to be watching, but I hope you still stick around and we could have a conversation about it all. Let me check the comments real quick. My age, I am. Well, how old do you think I am? Let's leave it up there for discussion. What's going on, Aggressive? Nice to see you back. Hope you're having a good day, good week. According to the number of reviews, it's the most popular show of all time. You're talking about the Acolyte? But according to who? According to critics or audience score? Because I remember the last time I saw the audience score rating of the Acolyte, it was abysmal because it was hate bombed for the most part. Key Play says 35. I really appreciate that. I wish that was true. Unfortunately, I am much older than that. But I appreciate that. That's really nice. It's nice to see that I at least still come across as being somewhat young. Here's a hint. If I said I come from the generation that really holds very close and dear the original trilogy close to my heart, then that kind of tells you that maybe I'm a little bit older than that. "41. You're getting close. You're getting very close. I'm slightly older than that." And then when we do figure out how old I am, the big question to follow up afterwards is, do I look that old? Because I'll tell you, this week, I totally felt it. I'm serious. I'm not kidding, Alex. I'm definitely much older than 41. Aggressive. The fighting in Ahsoka was amazing. Diana Lee Inosanto killed it. But I can't help but start laughing when I see dudes in the woods with lightsabers. Watch too many Star Wars fan films. See, so I guess for me, I have the benefit that I did not watch a lot of those fan films. I think the only fan films I have ever watched was the big Obi-Wan one. With that guy who plays a very good like Alec Guinness like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Troops from back in the day. If you remember Troops, the kind of parody on cops. 56, that's way too old, Keys. T saying same age as me, 47. I am 46. So I am a year younger than you are. So we do come from the same generation for sure. And by the way, Diana Lee Inosanto is, I think, an underrated action actress. When she first showed up in the Mandalorian episode, fighting Ahsoka, great stuff. Great stuff. And then seeing her fighting in Ahsoka was fantastic too. So, but isn't she like the cousin of Bruce Lee or something like that? Lots of people are saying good, bad in their little reviews. I'm talking about the number of reviews that have come in. This is a show that turned thousands of people into reviewers. Well, I think, to be honest, I feel like it's the sequels that start turning people into reviewers when it comes to the Star Wars fan base, at least, right? And ever since they started putting out Star Wars content on Disney Plus, it encouraged more and more people to turn into quote unquote reviewers and all that. So yeah, Troops was great. Yeah, Troops is a funny ass fan film. I don't know if it still holds up, but if you haven't seen it yet, I definitely recommend doing a YouTube search for it. Alex, it's nice to meet you too, man. I really appreciate you hanging out here and joining in on the conversation. All right, let's talk about spoiler stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this episode of episode 5 here, because like I said, big reveal that I was expecting, and then other things that I was totally not expecting. The one thing I'll say off the bat is, I forget which stream I was talking about when it comes to Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and what things are being said about the Acolyte, right? And one of the things that really stood out to me when I watched this episode is subverting expectations, right? I think it's kind of strange not to see Star Wars done in a way that's very Game of Thrones like. Leslie Headland has decided to subvert all expectations, and what you see is not exactly what's going to happen. She's not afraid to throw crazy twists and turns your way. And let's just say that this is not going to be a series where you should really hold on to any specific character immediately, because at any given point they're not afraid to kill these characters off. Very much like Game of Thrones. I'll never forget season 1 of Game of Thrones where Sean Bean first showed up, and I was like, oh, this is cool, like I really like that dude, and then he dies in the first episode, right? And as everything keeps happening, as the series progresses, as the seasons progress, more and more characters that you are starting to like, or maybe you've already fallen on with, who are your favorites, they tend to go. Whether they get killed, they go away, they whatever. It's just amazing how we're in a state right now where shock value is very big, right? And it's kind of they lure us in, and then they surprise us with a big mic drop, right? And this was definitely an episode that did a lot of that. This series so far has done a lot of that, because everyone that we've seen in the marketing material, everything that we've seen in the trailers, everyone that we were thinking like, wow, this character looked like it's going to be great, and I can't wait to root for these guys, they won't last past maybe 2 episodes or whatever. So that's one thing that I do find very fascinating. I kind of applaud Leslie and the team on being ballsy like that, but I'm sure it's going to upset and piss off a whole bunch of other people when it comes to Star Wars and when it comes to this show. Alex, I do work freelance. I am a freelance project manager, but this is also one of the things I do. Aggressive Bruce Lee's goddaughter. Yes, that's right. She is the goddaughter of Bruce Lee. Arnold, what's going on? Arnold's in the house. Arnold says, I'm done. Are you done watching the episode, or are you done with this series? Because that's like it's a very interesting differentiation there to understand what that comment meant. But yeah, so one of the big surprises that happened in this episode. First of all, let's talk about the fight scenes. The choreography of the fight scenes in this episode, I thought, were extremely well done. Unfortunately, it does still feel like we're in a soundstage, we're in a studio. That forest that they're in does not feel real whatsoever. So that does throw me off a little bit. But what they did here, and again, it's always fun to see a group of Jedi fighting, one person or a Sith. When the reveal happened, basically they're saying, this person said that, I guess you can call me Sith, right? He doesn't even know how to categorize himself. And it kind of shows you that there isn't really like an organization here when it comes to whatever he was doing, which is perfectly fine. But seeing this fight going on with some kind of clever camera work, and I think they also did this to mask whatever special effects they needed to do, maybe lack of talent when it comes to some of the stunts, where you could only see bits of the fight happening behind some trees. But when we do see an opening happen, we do see the big swings, the big fighting, the big sparring. Some use of force abilities here was very unique and different. I like the one where he kind of stabs the Jedi all the way through and then force pulls another Jedi into that person's back to get also stabbed through the body, which I thought was very, very unique and inventive there. So the fighting, all that stuff was very well done. And then, of course, we saw an amazing battle between Saul and this guy. And, of course, let's not forget being able to being able to see Daphne Keene's character, uh, kind of her fighting and all that. Alex, what are you talking about? I don't see anything. Are you trolling me right now? Are you talking about this guy? I don't see anything. Is there a bug behind me, guys? Anyway, Arnold, done with the episode. I'm impressed and at the same time somehow disappointed. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So, the big reveal, obviously, was who this mysterious person is, right? And last week, I kind of hinted, or I was kind of speculating that the big reveal was I thought it was going to be Khmer because it just sounded a little bit too convenient and kind of obvious how he kept reminding May in regards to you got to make sure you do this, you got to make sure it's that, you got to make sure blah blah blah. Make sure because he's going to get angry if you don't do this, and if you don't do that. And it was always a big question of why is he so invested? Why is he like what role does he play? So it felt very like kind of obvious almost to the point where I think like I bet you this guy is going to be the master or whatever. And when the big reveal happened in a very like Kylo Ren-esque type of moment where his mask gets shattered during fighting and all that, and he does the big reveal, and indeed it is Khmer, right? Looking all like manly and muscularly and all that stuff like that. And they have the big confidence, Saul's like, who are you? What are you? And he kind of alluded to, it's like, well, I guess you could kind of call me Sith or whatever. But you could kind of also tell like he doesn't really truly believe that he is, maybe. There's no categorization of this guy, right? Which is very, very interesting. Also, one thing that I will say that also bothered me in this episode, not a lot bothered me, but there are several things I'll nitpick at. The use of the Force is very convenient, right? Like, there are many moments where he would fight and it's like 2-on-1, 3-on-1. But in the last episode, he was able to force push like a huge group of Jedi in one swoop. How come he didn't do that here? It's very convenient, the usage of the Force, to kind of tell the story and have it all laid out there, right? So there was a moment where they brought back those bugs, right? And that was like the big way to kind of get him away or get him out of there. And as he's starting to fend off these bugs and they kind of like pick him up and carry him away, why didn't he use any force push or anything like that? It's very convenient when they decide to include those type of powers or when they don't, right? Because if it was me and I have that ability to do all that stuff, why I would just be force pushing everybody, like get out of here, stop, leave me alone. I like that's one thing that it's kind of bizarre to me, but I will forgive it. I get it. It's all about storytelling. It's all about laying the picture out, kind of letting things play through. So I do find the reveal of Khmer very interesting and it fits, right? I still don't know what his motivation is, and I think we're gonna find out hopefully as the season continues. I also still feel that he is also still reporting to somebody. He's under somebody's tutelage. Has to be. I don't understand, or I could possibly imagine why he would be the one to kind of be the one who decides to start bringing back the dark side all of a sudden, right? So it's very interesting. I like the choice here. I like the reveal, but obviously there's something more at play, right? But with his reveal, unfortunately, came consequences. And I think to many people's surprises watching this episode, we lost two major Jedi at this point in this episode. Jedi that we were introduced to in episode 1, who I think we all kind of thought we were going to be going along the same journey with all of them. And in a heartbeat, they are now gone. And the way that they were killed was so damn brutal. It's probably the most brutal deaths of a Jedi that I've seen on the big screen, either on TV or in the movies or anything. So unfortunately, we lose Jackie, but she went out in a blaze of glory, man. I tell you that. I'll tell you, the way she fought, and I bet you there's going to be a lot of people out there who's going to be complaining, it's like, oh, how come Jackie can fight so strong? Why is he so strong? Well, this is the first time we ever saw her fight, right? So we don't know what her talent was. I mean, but if you remember the Jedi Order, the people that she was rolling with, they keep saying that, she may be an apprentice, but if you feel that they really trust her, right? There's a moment where Yord is trying to take Osha and bring her back to the ship, get her out of the situation, right? And she's like, we got to go back. We got to help them out. And Yord's like, Jackie's a Jedi. She can hold her own. And we were able to see that. But man, when the time came and Kimir took her out, it was just so brutal. She got stabbed like 3 times through the body with his saber. And they introduced another dynamic too, which I do question also, where for some reason, his saber, I'm talking about Kimir at this point, he was able to detach it, kind of like Darth Maul in a way, but in a smaller version. And they turned into 2 smaller blades. And that's how he was able to kind of move quicker and do the quick stabby, right? So that would mean that in his one saber alone, there had to have been 2 kyber crystals, right? I'm getting very nerdy and technical at this point, so bear with me for a moment. And it wasn't like his saber was broken in half. It was able to be detached and turned into 2 smaller, like daggers at this point, saber daggers. And then you saw that he was able to reattach it afterwards. So that is like a new, I guess, aspect of a lightsaber that we haven't seen before, right? So they're definitely introducing some new stuff here, and I'm pretty sure as the season continues, we're gonna see more introductions of new technology within the Jedi Force, right? Another thing that was very interesting too is that he was able somehow to deflect the saber energy, but also short circuit it with his gauntlet and his helmet. What was that? That was very new. I've never seen anyone do that before, right? So how the hell does that happen? That's like so bizarre. I mean, again, seeing it all in motion was pretty cool. I was like, oh, like the fuck? He's able to like shut sabers down just by like headbutting it or just by blocking it. Crazy stuff, right? But very cool. Like when you look at the broad picture and when you look at everything play out, very cool fighting techniques and all, but very different stuff that we've never seen before. So of course I have to question it a little bit. Let me quickly get back to the chat. Sorry guys. Love that Kimir as a dark side user had to cheat to beat a Padawan who walks in light. Great Star Wars storytelling. I agree. Pull out your other saber and make Jackie's victory. Thing is same, it's that powerful for certain areas seemed off. Alex, you don't need to apologize for the joke. It's all good. Swiss Army saber. I think Youngling fought better versus Anakin. That's funny. Osha had the Leia in Cloud City moment. We have to go back. Yeah, like because May in a way called out to her, right? And it's funny when May tries to communicate with Osha, she uses her kid voice, right? So it sounded like her little sister was calling out to her. And that's why she kind of had to do like, we have to go back. We have to save them. in Star Wars, there is this metal called cortosis that shorts out lightsabers. I had no idea. Cortosis metal was what it was made out of. It's in Legends. Oh, really? See, I didn't know that. Do you recall what Legend story that was kind of introduced to or introduced in? Well, that's interesting in itself too, because more and more we're starting to see that they're bringing stuff from Legends. They're bringing in little bits of things that Legends that at one point they were saying that were not going to be canon at all. So I love how they're kind of slowly like nitpicking on things to bring back. So I think that's really cool. Arnold, sorry if I missed your chat from earlier. Bro, it can't be that the guy feels like 4 kills Jedi. Padawan is stronger. All the masters, and then he is almost defeated by some. I thought it was a shame. Yeah, it's again, it's very. There's a lot of convenience in the storytelling. Like it made it kind of uneven at times. It made for great visual effects and kind of on-screen entertainment. But when you really sit down and think about it, you question, okay, how did this happen, right? First of all, Guy is short-circuiting sabers with his helmet and his gauntlet, which is something that most audiences will know nothing about why that is possible, right? So you have that going on. Then you have his ability to dismantle his saber, turn it into little daggers to do his thing when he was fighting Jackie, right? Then you have his choice of when to use his force powers and when not to, right? I love that he did that crazy saber throw that kept going, going, going. Very much like in the video games, which I thought was pretty cool. Aggressively relaxing said that you can find cortosis being used in canon in the Dr. Aphra story. Oh, okay. That's okay. That's always been honestly, that's always been a comic series I've been wanting to watch because I've had friends tell me that it's actually pretty good. Had a vibe from the same Ghost of Tsushima for me, the fight between the two. Yeah, that's actually a very good call. It was very choreographed nicely, and there were many moments where I feel like it felt very like video game like, right? Especially the one moment where we got a fight without any lightsabers. Saul decided to fight Khmer just fisticuffs, hand to hand. And all of a sudden it became like a kung fu martial arts type of fighting sequence, which we've never seen Jedi fight before. We saw Carrie-Anne Moss in the beginning, in the first episode, do force fighting, where it was a lot of like pushes and stops and pulls and all this stuff like that. And then now we have Saul displaying that he can fight hand to hand without any use of sabers or force abilities. Alex saying it's like Mortal Kombat. Yeah. So a lot of interesting things that were kind of weaved through this episode as far as fighting styles are concerned, ways to battle. The way he killed Yord, again, we're talking spoilers, right? So Yord, again, another person that we thought we were going to be going through this journey with, especially since they paid so much attention to this guy earlier on, he just gets his neck snapped like crazy. This guy is really strong, right? But at the same time, it's like then there are moments where his strength is not as strong, right? If he is able to kind of just go through a guy, snap his neck, then at the same time dual saber fight Jackie, who at one point is really giving him the business. But then in a quick motion, it was kind of sleight of hand, which you have to give him credit. That was like a really slick move of his to kind of just do that thing and just pow, pow, pow. Brutal stuff. Really, really freaking brutal stuff. But obviously, Saul was a little bit too much for him. So there's something there about Saul, which is very, very interesting. But then he gets swept away by these stupid bugs, as, Osha comes back with her flashlight, throwing, poor little Pip. That's the name of the little robot, right? Sacrificing another character we lost in this series. Sacrificing Pip as a major flashbang on his back to attract those bugs who conveniently kind of like flew him away. Where if that was me, I would just use my force push to push them out of my way. Crazy stuff, but entertaining nonetheless, right? So aggressive saying, yeah, Dr. Afra is great because the character is a horrible person. So it's fun to watch your protagonist be a selfish monster running scams. Always Sunny in Philadelphia style. See, that sounds like something I could get into. Where's that show? I've always said for a while that they should start making shows based off of some of the comic books, right? So a lot of my friends were saying they wish that they could make a Dr. Afra series. I think that would be very interesting. But it's interesting that this series alone, you could tell that they're borrowing bits from what we see now, the Dr. Afra comic book series, but also from the Vader comic book series, right? That's how we were introduced to that that Jedi thing where you're doing your penance and you're meditating, and you're kind of like in stasis, right? That's how we introduce some of that kind of like lore into live action. So it's very interesting how a lot of things are being kind of borrowed from the comic books, obviously from the High Republic books and all, and we're seeing it transformed into television, right? My only fear is that there's going to be a lot of people who don't read that stuff. They're going to be very lost. Almost like me, but at least thanks to you guys and thanks to some additional research I do, I find out little bits and pieces here and there. Alex, I hope you have a great evening. Thank you again for chiming in. Love to see you back sometime. Arnold saying we just lost 65% of the actors. That's true. Thought Cortosis was introduced in Art of War Jedi Council books. I know was in prequel books New Dawn. Maybe it was. Maybe it was, but it all depends on who read what, right? But I guess knowing that it's in the Afra comic book series, but it was introduced maybe earlier on, it's nice to see that it was still being utilized and kind of transferred over, right? So with the app Libby and library card, you can listen to Aria's collection of Star Wars books today. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I've had a lot of people recommend that I use the Libby app, but I lost my library card. I don't even know if I'm registered in the system right now. I do have a library literally like 3 blocks away from me, so I should probably just stop by and open up a new account. I'm just afraid that they're going to find out, and this is a true story, that I never returned 3 books when I was 12 years old. So I wonder if that stays in the system for that long. But I don't want to have to pay a late fee. That's what, at this point, 20 plus years old. Is there a statute of limitations for late fees when it comes to return books? T saying, at this point, I don't want them to touch Old Republic era. Favorite era personally. The Old Republic is some great stuff there. But Leslie has said, maybe we're not going to see it so much in this series, but she has said that she wants to tackle more Old Republic era. So I guess we'll see. Arnold, I want to see him in action against the Green Jedi Master. I guarantee we're going to see her do something. Because I do feel like there is, I forgot who mentioned it last week, but there is something up with her. And I think there's yet more to be revealed about that character. Especially, I'm pretty sure she's the one that wields the whip lightsaber, right? So they're gonna have to show that on the show at one point. But yeah, so we get the big reveal with Khmer, right? And obviously he's mad at May for kind of turning her back on him in a very brief, quick moment where all of a sudden she's like, you know what? My sister's alive. Now it's only my sister that matters, and I'm not going to carry out your thing anymore. So obviously he gets upset. He was very much ready to take her out of the picture, but thanks for the interruptions by Saul and the rest of the guys, that didn't happen. But even though he was flown away by these crazy bugs, he's still alive. He's still around. So obviously we're going to still see more of him. But let's talk about the whole May Osha thing, right? So with all the Jedi dying, and I get, and again, it should we should mention everyone in all the marketing material at this point is gone, with the exception of Saul and Osha. Everyone else has been wiped out. Carrie Ann Moss, Yord, Jackie, even the Wookiee, Kalnaka, all the ones that they were really promoting for this series, they're dead. They're all gone. So again, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, then this is something that you would probably be happy or surprised about and be like, wow, this reminds me of Game of Thrones. They just don't give a fuck. They're just knocking everyone out, which I kind of respect. Like I said, I give them props for being that bold to do that. Aggressive saying, I'm reading the new book, Temptation of the Force in the High Republic, where the green actress Sinestra is back, but when we last saw her, she has becoming a way seeker where you leave the Jedi. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. He will quickly realize that she is posing everything to her sister. Yeah. So let's talk about that whole May Osha confrontation. So, you know, when Osha came back to try to help the Jedi, and then she's seeing them getting wiped out in front of her, she sees May try to make a run for it, stuns her with her stun gun, right? And then I guess there's a reversal of fortune where, you know, she gets back up and she ends up stunning Osha or whatever. But there's a moment where Osha and May finally have their one-to-one confrontation, right? And, you know, Osha is still on about, May, you've been the bad one. Everything you're doing is wrong. You know, I'm taking you in, you know, and hopefully that we can like talk to you. And May's like, no, you can't trust them. You belong to me. You know, this time, please follow me. You know, we're supposed to, you know, be together, and you can't forgive them for what they did to us and our family. And it's all about family, right? We got to stick together. So it's so interesting how May flopped or flipped, saying that I don't want to continue anymore killing these guys. Now it's all about my sister. And then in this quick moment, as she's seeing there's going to be resistance, Osha doesn't want to follow her, doesn't want to like kind of reunite with her and go the May route, and still really trust in the Jedi and want to kind of bring her in. She's like, you know what? Fuck the Jedi. You're right. I should have just continued on with my path. So in a weird moment, she stuns Osha, or not stuns her, but uses her force push to knock her out, and comes up with the brilliant scheme of, first she does this crazy with a saber cutting her hair. Very dramatic, overly dramatic moment, right? Which is kind of like, wow, really? So she cuts her hair to look very much like Osha, and she changes her clothes, and now she is disguised as Osha. She goes back, she teams up with Saul, say, hey, come on, we gotta go. Saul, not realizing that this is not Osha. Again, weird that this Jedi cannot seem to figure things out and is very clouded in the Force and cannot, you know, just even by touching her hand, and cannot sense that, wait a minute, this is May, this is not Osha. And now May, I guess, is going to infiltrate the Jedi Order and carry out her original idea of wiping out the Jedi. But this time it looks like it's going to extend possibly to everybody else. She wants to definitely take out Saul, because he's still part of that list, that kill list of hers. And who knows who else she's going to do. And now poor Osha is back on the planet, knocked out on the floor, and here comes Khmer. You know? And I don't know at this point if Khmer realizes that this is not May, but he noticed that it's an opportunity at least to either cloud someone else's mind with the dark side, or if this is still May, we could a redemption is needed, right? And I agree. All of this could have been solved if they just sat down and ate a cheesesteak. Everything could have been completely resolved if a cheesesteak was involved. But yeah, that's basically where things left off in this episode, where we see May disguised as Osha with Saul heading back to their ship, probably going back to Coruscant. And Osha now being picked up by Khmer. We have all the dead Jedi, Jackie, Yord, everybody else. Kanaka is already dead. Those poor insects have been wiped out. All they wanted to do was feed because they were in cocoon stasis for a while. All dead. And now they're going to continue whatever they're going to continue. And I'm pretty sure, I bet you what's going to happen here is that Khmer knows that this isn't May. So maybe he's going to use his opportunity to now use Osha to either turn her or as bait to lure May back out, while May is still having it in her mind that she wants to seek revenge on everything that's been done to her, her family, and her sister. Right? Yeah, I think he does force heal her, because you see like he kind of hovers his hand around the wound. Now, I don't remember if we actually saw the wound closing up or healing, but then he also uses the force to kind of like turn her around to kind of look at her face, right? So yeah. So that's basically what happens there. Arnold, they have enough meat now from the insects. So now we're going to have some insect sandwiches. Aggressive. I'm glad Mary Kate and Ashley are going to parent trap the Jedi and the Sith. I hope it works out. That's a great point. Basically, this show has turned now into the parent trap. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better than that. But it's so true. It's so true. It's like crazy Disney Channel hijinks happening right now, where it's like, oh, I'll dress up as my sister, and they'll never know the difference. And I'm gonna go in there, and I'm gonna infiltrate the Jedi Council, and I'm gonna wipe them all out because they killed my family. Which I still think we're gonna have a revelation about all of those things too. There's definitely something that Saul is keeping secret, right? I think Sinestra knows it. You know, I think she's kind of clued in on it. That's why she's kind of like hesitant in dealing with him or having him do certain things. Khmer definitely knows something because he kept saying like, you don't remember me. You don't recognize me. You know, and then, you know, the whole thing, the back and forth between them two, you know, Khmer was even saying like, he's wearing the helmet because he doesn't want his mind read. So what is this, like a Professor X Magneto thing going on where the helmet is protecting his mind? Is that a functionality of the cortosis material? T, also, can Saul read minds? I don't know. But but Jedis have the ability to at least sense things, right? You know, like when we saw Saul giving the Jedi test to May and Osha, he could kind of sense that they were being truthful or not in a way. And he could pick up immediately that Osha was not being truthful, right? You could see it in his face, and that's why he kind of questioned her about the whole thing. So that's why that also baffles my mind, where when he saw, you know, the fake Osha, May, showing up, that he wasn't able to kind of pinpoint that, wait a minute, something's amiss here, unless he does know, and he's kind of playing along with it to kind of lure May back with him, thinking that this is the only way to do it. And then maybe something will happen when they get back to Coruscant. I don't know. Obi-Wan 2.0. But I feel like not only does this episode surprise us with a lot of things and then not surprise us, it just kind of revealed things that we were kind of expecting. It definitely left a lot of questions of what's left to happen here. Because again, May, what is her motivation now? Is she still just revenging? Is she still just angry? Is she still just wants to get back at the Jedi for all the shit that she's gone through? You have that. What is Kamir's motivation? What does he have against the Jedi? Right? There has to be something in there. So we're obviously going to find out more about that. Obviously, Osha, we got to figure out what her role is going to play in the rest of this. What is Saul hiding? What did actually happen on that planet with the Coven? I'm pretty sure the Jedi has something to do with all of that, and I'm sure we're going to see more flashbacks detailing what's going to happen. Because remember, in one of the teaser trailers that we got, we did see Kalnaka fighting somebody, and it looked like he was fighting Torben. So maybe we're going to find out what's happening there. Maybe their minds were clouded by something, just like how the witch was able to cloud his mind with the dark side. Who knows? There's a lot of questions left to be had. I still also think that Kamir is reporting to somebody. He has his own master, and that is yet to be revealed. And I'm still thinking it may be the Mother Coral, or the Coral Mother, however you want to talk about it. I saw some people think Kamir and Saul are related because of, you don't remember me line. Now that would be interesting. Or is Kamir maybe a former Padawan? Right, we don't know. Saul has to be clouded somehow. Yeah, I agree. There's something there that's clouding him, or whatever. There's something there that he just cannot see for whatever reason. I know what I didn't expect so quickly is that he loses his mask directly, and I would be interested to know how he got to the dark side. Yeah. Again, what is his motivation, right? Why did he take on May as an apprentice? And what does he have against the Jedi? Like, there's just something there. There has to be a tie or connection to everybody. In the Legends, they do make a big deal about Sith being able to mask their Force presence. Yeah, I feel like that's something that's been kind of talked about in the prequels, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Yoda feel that the Sith were around, but he was kind of hiding it from everybody? And didn't Dooku at one point say that they were trying to hide themselves until the moment came for them to reveal themselves to the Jedi, right? Because wasn't it that, and thanks to the chat for all of you guys, like I'm really I thank you guys for like reminding me a lot about this stuff. When we were talking about this last week, I believe the Sith were wiped out. The Sith existed at one point in the High Republic days. Then they were They were kind of the big battle. They were wiped out. The Jedi were under the idea, or they came to the conclusion that the Sith no longer existed, but they were still kind of underground societies or communities or factions that were still practicing the dark side, right? So they were slowly kind of building themselves up, because as we go into Phantom Menace, when Darth Maul reveals himself, right, then what was it? Kat Mundi had to mention that the Sith haven't been around since the millennia, so they have been gone for a long time. So I also do feel like that there's a certain level of arrogance that the Jedi have, thinking that there's no way that there could be Sith around anymore, right? And that's showing how flawed they are as a group, which is something that I alluded to earlier in previous episodes, where I said that the Jedi, we're going to see and look at the Jedi in a very different light in this series, that they are not, perfect individuals, that they are extremely flawed. And they could be the ones that are at fault for a lot of things that are kind of unraveling in this series. So a lot of things to talk about. Arnold, congratulations, getting a new cell phone tomorrow. That's always fun. Teasing Force concealment in Legends. So there is such a thing as force concealment. Look at that. I wonder if that's what Obi-Wan practiced when he was hiding out on Tatooine. Right? That kind of forced him to kind of forget the force or not deal with the force long enough. Again, they're introducing, if this is all true, they're introducing so many aspects of Legends and the comic books, but they're not, the show isn't doing a very good job at explaining all of those things, right? Because if I didn't do any due diligence, if I didn't have the chat here with you guys explaining many things to me, I would still be wondering, how is it possible that this guy can still short circuit a lightsaber with his helmet and his gauntlet? It doesn't make any sense. We've never seen that happen before, right? Aggressive saying, I do wonder if this is the origin story of the Yoda conspiracy. Everyone else is like, we ain't seen Sith without. Yoda would be like, there's always been two of them bastards. Yeah, that's what I was alluding to before, how Yoda knew something was going on, but he was keeping it secret from everybody. Is this just over the average Jedi's pay grade? They said they didn't want to notify the Jedi Order. Do you think they will do it now? I have a feeling that Saul, at the very least, is going to go to Sinestra and mention something to her. And knowing Sinestra, or not really knowing her, Aggressive, maybe you could let me know because you're reading stories about her. Just because of her hesitancy dealing with the situation in the last episode we saw her in, she may want to keep the secret from everybody else and may want to kind of deal with it personally with Saul on their own. And then that may end up backfiring. Who knows? I don't know. But something's definitely going to happen for sure. There's going to be a big reveal. So what did everyone think of this episode? Let me know. Let me know your overall thoughts of the episode. Did you like it? I know Arnold said that there were parts of it he liked, but then there are other parts that made him disappointed. You just can't get along with her character. You're talking about the Sinestra? The green lady? Every time I say Sinestra, I feel like I'm about to say Sinestro, which is which is the yellow Green Lantern from the DC comic books. Again, quick reminder, everyone, please don't forget, hit that like button. Thank you so much. I would really, really appreciate it. And I'm having a fun time with the conversation here, folks. I mean, we got to talk about why 5 dudes didn't make it home, right? Yeah, absolutely. More than 5, I think, at this point, right? I mean, everyone got wiped out. It's crazy. Hold on. I want to see. Because was it yesterday? Or I think it was yesterday. I saw that hero shot with all the Jedi on the planet. So I'm going to count them out right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 Jedi that went down on that planet with them. And only one of them is coming back. It's crazy. It's just insane. Look at this. Look at this picture. It might be too small and vertical. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Jedi, if you don't include Kelnaka. So technically we have 9, right? So out of those, only Saul returns. Everyone else caught the business. That's freaking crazy. So yeah, there's going to be some explaining to do for sure. The multiverse is over. maybe we'll see Deadpool in Star Wars. That'll be a weird combo. When you meet Sinestro, she's a kid who is super idealistic, classic Star Wars heroine. The one I'm seeing now is nothing like the one I knew. Yeah, there's something that has had to have happened. Like because I remember the only thing I know about her in the High Republic literature, right, is when she was younger, right? So I don't know if any of the books or comics go into her in her teen years or as she was growing up, but something happened between that moment and now that it made her different. There's something that turned her very stoic, very kind of, I don't know what the right word is to describe her, but she seems very afraid or cautious, right? And that conversation she had with Saul always, stood out to me because she's just like, why didn't you tell me that this was a possibility? Why didn't, it just sounds like they were kind of up to something or they were hiding something. And she is very much not comfortable with a lot of things. So a lot more is going to be revealed, I'm sure. That's going to make things a lot interesting. Or maybe not. Maybe things that got revealed, we're going to be like, what? Get the fuck out of here. Come on. That doesn't make any sense. I was saying I don't understand how the two can have a father. I thought the only one was Anakin. Well, I mean, some of the speculation going on right now is that maybe this Coral mother and Anasea, the mom of the twins, maybe they were kind of like thinking that, oh, there is this prophecy about the one. What if we kind of force it and we try to create it? Maybe they were kind of experimenting with that stuff. And this is the first attempt of that possibly happening. And realizing that, wow, this is something that can actually happen if you have the right mindset or the right power. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Anakin, as far as we know, there was no magic involved, right? It was just all of a sudden, Shimi just got pregnant and that's it. We don't know if there was a shadowy figure behind the scenes kind of using the Force unbeknownst to her to kind of make her pregnant. I don't know. Here, at least you had two individuals using the Force, and I'm thinking some of that Dathomir magic to kind of create these two twins. So, Clone Wars for life. What's going on, man? Nice to see you. Hope you're having a good day, good week so far. Obviously, as you could tell, we're talking about Star Wars Acolyte Episode 5. Hopefully you've seen it. Aggressive. Yeah, the largest Star Wars story is so interesting, and I look forward to this show each week. I really like the Osha character. Good. It's nice to hear someone who's actually enjoying the show, because the amount of negativity I see outside is nuts. It's really crazy. He was thinking from how the Jedi was getting handled, they may have just reinvented Darth Venomous. Who's Darth Venomous? Who's that? I have not, but it's okay. All right, well, hopefully this, I know how you already feel about this series, so hopefully you don't mind the spoiler talk. This episode is a wild one, though. I will say that. Arnold, if I'd love to see Darth Talon, you'll have to look it up on the internet. She's just sexy. Aggressive. One of my favorite parts of the Plagueis book is when the robot introduced all of the Plagueis pregnancies. There was a bunch of Force experiments, and also Omega don't have a dad either. That's right. Or is it Omega, right? Omega from the Bad Batch? You're right. Omega was just a clone. Yeah, but I feel like Omega was just birthed from like the same clone technology that they were using, right? For just like for the clone troopers. No, I don't know Darth Talon here. I'm going to look it up. Oh, Darth Talon. She is the same character as Mara Jade, right? Where is she from? Is she from a video game? Yeah, she's a Twi'lek. We still don't have a canon explanation for Annie. Yeah, we don't. All we know is that Shimi got pregnant, and that's it, and gave birth to Anakin. He's a child of the Force, but we don't know how that all came about. Still very Jesus-like. But again, to the whole thing about Plagueis, right, and the Plagueis pregnancies. I think it's interesting that it's already been established that there have been sectors of people that have been experimenting with the Force and how to give birth to Force children. So this is definitely a series that is introducing that concept to everybody, and maybe we'll learn more about that. Who knows? Does anyone feel like or think that we are going to get a Plagueis reveal here in this series, or no? I always thought it would be kind of funny if that would happen in this series. The series that everyone's like hating right now. How funny would it be if all of a sudden we get introduced to Plagueis, and he is the mastermind behind it all, and he is the one that is tutelage, who's mentoring Kamir. On a comic I read something about there. Also, she's from a comic. Oh, from the Legends comics. Got it. Oh, she was. Oh, is she part of? Oh, wait a minute. She's part of what is that? The Dark Empire comic series. Is that right? Or is this from the Marvel comics? Let's see. Star Wars Legacy #2. Luke's descendant Cade Skywalker. 130 years after Return of the Jedi. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I wonder if that's all going to be part of canon. Or what will they nitpick on, from here and there. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in this episode, I will say. I personally I liked the episode, but like I said, there are some things that I did question that kind of didn't make sense to me. The flip-flopping of May's character, and kind of like, I'm gonna kill these guys. I'm not gonna kill these guys. It's about my sister. You know what? I'm gonna kill these guys anyway. The reveal of Kamir, which was not a big surprise, but then his strength and lack thereof at times, kind of weird. The death of everybody obviously is a big surprise. Yeah, but it's nice to hear that at least some of you guys are enjoying the series so far. But happy to talk about anything else you guys want to bring up. What do we think we're going to see for the rest of the season? Slowly, they all get pregnant. All of a sudden, we're just going to have a bunch of forced children out of nowhere. What the High Republic has shown us is the last couple hundred years, the Jedi have been forced to become space cops because of the terrorist acts of the sect of Force users. And I think they showed a lot of that in this series so far. You know, one of the comments I had when episodes 1 and 2 showed up, especially when episode 3 came about, was that it feels like the Jedi, we're seeing the Jedis as kind of space marshals. And it's the first time we're actually seeing them do that. Because even in the prequels, you could tell that they were very arrogant. They were very like high and mighty, almost to a certain point like a religious cult that worked very close with the Galactic Republic, right? And, you know, they were kind of like advisors and diplomats in a way, right? Here, we're really seeing them being these marshals, these like uh, rules. They follow these strict rules and how everyone kind of has to abide by their own rules if you are to want to kind of practice the arts of the force or whatever. It's almost very Gestapo like, you know. So that's why I always felt like we're definitely going to have a different point of view of the Jedi when this series is done. And yeah, they're not the high and mighty organization that I think they kind of led us to believe for a long time. We've seen the Jedi be flawed before, but I think this is going to be more. We're going to see more and more of how flawed they really are. You know, and again, we're seeing it with on an individualistic side of things, how people can be so clouded as to what may be happening outside, how there could be all of these people who are practicing the dark side of the Force, how May and Osha, maybe there's something in there, you know. Saul could not realize that, wait a minute, this is not Osha, this is May. So there's a lot of things happening here, and we're seeing how flawed a lot of these Jedi are. Jedi on police bikes, kind of like Chips, the old show Chips. But to say they have something against the dark side is racist. Crescent, I think it will be revealed that this was the plan of the Sith to make them not be beloved, but become more militant. Yord is by the book cop, quick to take over other minds to get the job done. Yeah, Yord was that Jedi that I said was very textbook. He was very by the book, and he you couldn't see him like get out of that, and you could see like there are certain moments where him and Saul kind of clashed. Saul is definitely more of like the Qui-Gon type of Jedi, where he doesn't always believe in a lot of the rules. He still tries to enforce them, but he also tries to kind of do his own thing, right? So it's always very interesting there, and it'll be fascinating if the whole overall plan was to kind of reveal all the flaws of the Jedi, you know, for the Sith to kind of say like, see, these are the people that you're teaming up with now. Ah, we're going to show you how imperfect they are. All very, that would be all very interesting stuff. I just don't understand how you can kill Jedi on your own. 5 trained? What do you mean, Arnold? Are you talking about May? Again, quick reminder, guys, make sure to hit that like button if you're new seeing this. I would definitely really appreciate it. I'm trying to get better at reminding people about that stuff. And hopefully I don't sound like a broken record. I do apologize. Also, in a little bit, I figured, you know, we could end the stream or at least close out the stream talking about some of the latest Star Wars news. Some very, very interesting stuff came out in the last couple of days. I would love to talk about with you guys. But yeah, if there's anything else about this episode you'd like to talk about, let's go. Talk about it for like another 5 minutes or so. Trained to do what though? They rarely are asked to fight people that can match them in kung fu magic. Kung fu magic. Yeah, we saw a lot of that in this episode. Oh, I understand what you mean. So you mean like the Khmer, how he can kill 5 Jedi like that? Well, again, I think it just these Jedi, I think, are not they're not at the level where they are trained to deal with someone that has such strong dark Jedi forces, like such dark intentions, right? They deal with bounty hunters, they deal with the criminal element, I'm sure. But these Jedi that we see in this series, they are of the age where they didn't have to deal with Sith. Because again, I think they're under the impression that they don't exist. So they are not really trained to kind of fight dark side of the Force users, right? And he definitely he definitely had a lot of skills that were like new and strong to a lot of these guys. Like even Saul, you could tell like when Saul was fighting him, his face looked like, how is this guy doing this? Why is this guy so strong? Who is this guy? You know, so much so that they had to go fisticuffs and fight hand to hand at one point. Saul is the only one that seems to be trained well enough to be able to deal with all that stuff. Right? So Jackie was a Padawan, so obviously she wasn't well trained, but she held her own for a bit. I thought her whole fight was extremely badass. You know, Yord, on the other hand, you could tell he was not trained to be kind of taken out so quickly like that. Nap's neck, oof, what a way to go. And the rest, they might as well have been wearing red shirts because they were just expendable. To use a Star Trek term, they were just all expendable. We should have known that going to the planet. It's like, oh, wait a minute, who are these people that are going with them? I don't know any one of them. Oh, they're all going to die. That's it. Arnold said that he ordered the Samsung Galaxy S24. They're already up to 24. Wow. The last Samsung phone I've ever owned was an S8, I think. And then I switched over to Pixels. But I'm excited for you. It's always exciting to get a new phone. All right. Anything else about this episode before we switch topics and we talk more about Star Wars related news and such? What do I expect from the for the next House of Dragon episode? Um so there's obviously, based on the teaser that we got, we're definitely going to see the beginnings of the internal civil war amongst the Targaryens. There's obviously going to be a lot of dragons involved, and I think we're definitely going to see a lot more sex. I'm open for that. Sure, why not? Alicent can't seem to get enough of Sir Cole there, so. But there's definitely going to be a lot of dragons. A lot of dragons. All right, y'all. Let's dive into more Star Wars news here. Let's talk about some of the recent Star Wars news that has dropped. And one of the bits of news that really excited me and I found very interesting was that it turns out that director Krennic is going to be returning in Andor season 2. Andor, in my opinion, is the best Star Wars related show that we've gotten on Disney Plus amongst all the other shows. I love season 1. I can't wait for season 2 to drop. And it was already kind of hinted that the next season was going to get closer to the events of Rogue One, right? Where, obviously that's where we learned of Andor for the first time. So it makes sense to me that now we're going to start tying to characters that we met in Rogue One. Now we're going to be introduced to them probably in season 2 of Andor. So here's the news on Dark Horizons right here. And it says Ben Mendelsohn will reprise his Rogue One role of Imperial Director Orson Krennic in the second season of Tony Gilroy's acclaimed Star Wars series Andor, reports the playlist. Earlier this year, Mendelsohn suggested that he would not be returning as he hadn't been approached by Lucasfilm for the show, which was well into production by that time. Then late last week, the outlet spoke with Mexican filmmaker Alonso Ruiz-Palacios. I hope I said that correctly. Translated a cop movie, about his kitchen drama La Cocina. And he revealed that he had an honor of directing the last 3 episodes of the Andor 12-episode final season. These are the episodes that lead directly into Rogue One, and while he couldn't discuss any specifics, he did say it was a treat to direct heavyweight actors like this. Stellan Skarsgård, Forrest Whitaker, and Ben Mendelsohn. Look at that. That suggests he worked with Mendelsohn on the show, though just how much isn't clear. We know the show will end leading right up to the events of Rogue One, so Krennic's involvement isn't a surprise. That's what I said before. Additionally, series lead star Diego Luna attended Ace Superhero Comic-Con this weekend and says via Popverse that season 2 will boast characters there that you will recognize, and that once the season is complete, it's going to be fascinating to go straight to Rogue One after watching this second season, because you will see Rogue One from a different perspective. Andor has wrapped its second season filming and is due to premiere on Disney Plus earlier next year. So I'm excited about that. I think Krennic is a very, very fascinating character. Obviously, we didn't get enough of him because Rogue One was just a one and done thing. So if we get to see more of this Krennic character, it would be fantastic. I think it would be a lot of fun to watch and kind of see. I don't know if it would be considered to be like an origin of Krennic, but at least just see how Krennic was before the events of Rogue One unveiled itself. So I'm very much excited for that. On when is the film planned where the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Boba Fett series are put together in a film? Because it was announced that end as one film. So the first Star Wars film that we'll see coming out soon is supposed to be the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Now, I think they fast-tracked that movie because they need a hit. Star Wars has not done a movie that was released in theaters for a very long time, and they need something big to make people go out to theaters to watch it, and in a way to kind of help remind people that, hey, yeah, Star Wars should have a presence in theaters. So the first movie that's going to come out the gate is Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, obviously we don't know what the details are of this movie, but I'm pretty sure it's going to join things that we've seen in The Mandalorian, probably what we've seen in the Book of Boba Fett. Ahsoka, maybe to a certain extent. We'll get to see some things from that series. I also feel that we may get an Ahsoka season 2 before we get the movie. So I don't know. But that is going to be the first movie that's going to be coming out. I think that's slated to come out in 2026. Let me see. Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Let's see. Yeah, 2026. It's going to be directed by Jon Favreau, and writing will be Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So yeah. And that will be the first Star Wars movie to be theatrically released ever since what? What was the last Star Wars movie? Was it Rise of Skywalker? So yeah. No, there's no time to watch because everyone's going to be playing GTA 6. If GTA 6 comes out in 2026. And I'm only saying that because, look, that's going to be a massive game, right? Rockstar already announced that it was delaying it slightly. That's why it's coming out in 2026. I won't be surprised if they make another announcement the closer we get that it's going to be further delayed. Because it's a massive game. I hope it doesn't get delayed, but it's a possibility that it might. So yeah, so that was interesting news about the Andor season 2 stuff. There is recent news about New Jedi Order and the whole Daisy Ridley Rey character. I'll read this article here. New Jedi Order director on Rey's Draw. Just over a year ago came the news that Daisy Ridley would return to the Star Wars franchise with a new film set 15 years after the events of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Miss Marvel director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is helming the film, in which Rey is trying to establish a new Jedi Order after the fall of the First Order and Emperor Palpatine once and for all. Now, in a new interview with SiriusXM, Obaid-Chinoy spoke about what drew her to the project. She's previously indicated Rey's journey as a female Jedi is the story that interests her the most. In the new interview, she says Rey will very much be the center of the film, and she's spoken with all the key Star Wars creators of recent times for advice. Here's her quote. Sometimes you walk in the footsteps of people and giants who've created worlds, and in the case of Star Wars, George Lucas's world and the filmmakers that have walked in his footsteps have set this world that they want young viewers to sort of walk into and have an understanding of the world. At the heart of it, for me, is Rey Skywalker, is Daisy Ridley and her story, and taking her on an adventure to a Jedi Academy, and sort of creating a world that is a natural dovetail to the story we've seen her go through in the last 3 episodes. Working with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and the team over there in breathing life to characters that everyone loves and have fallen in love with, and finding new characters that the next generation of moviegoers will fall in love with. I've had conversations with J.J. Abrams, and I've had conversations with George Lucas, and of course Dave Filoni, who is a big part of the Star Wars universe now. We speak very often, and Kathleen Kennedy, and Carrie Beck, and Simon Emanuel. Separately, she spoke with Variety about the toxic side of Star Wars fandom, which has already targeted the project well before filming has begun, with claims of wokeism and dredging up of out-of-context comments she made in the past, suggesting she wanted to make men uncomfortable. Oh boy, here we go. We have like another Leslie Headland thing here. Asked about the darker aspect of the fandom, she responded with a quite diplomatic answer. The greatest thing about Star Wars is that everyone has a personal connection to it. Everyone is passionate about it. Throughout the fandom, people have clear ideas about who should direct or what the story should be about. I'm just drowning out those voices until I'm done. As a storyteller, I'm focused on drawing new moviegoers into the cinema and bring a sense of nostalgia that will appeal to older fans of the series. New film is rumored to be titled New Jedi Order and doesn't have a release date at present. Reason why it doesn't have a release date is because I think they're trying to play it out and see what the response is going to be when the Mandalorian and Grogu movie goes out. So we'll see what happens there. Please take her picture off. We still have nightmares about her. Whose picture are you talking about, Rey? So this is an interesting article, and I think it speaks heavily on expectations, the fandom, the toxicity. We mentioned it earlier in this stream about how the critics versus fan reaction to the Acolyte series. Red Letter Media just released a video yesterday talking about the Acolyte, which is a very interesting thing because you're going into the video thinking they're going to give their review about the Acolyte, which they do, but they spend like the first 45 minutes basically talking about the Star Wars fandom and the toxicity and all that. So they brought up some very interesting points that I kind of alluded to when I talk about it every time. How these films and Star Wars is very generational. I talk about it all the time when it comes to the prequels versus the original movies versus the sequels and the streaming shows, that there's a Star Wars for everybody, right? And everyone grows up with Star Wars in a different way. What they brought up is that when you think of the original Star Wars movies, episodes 4, 5, and 6, it's directed by somebody who grew up during, the 50s and 60s. And just like anything in Hollywood, this was another topic that we talked about before, how there's going to be certain influence based off of society stuff that's happening around you, political climate. You can't help but be a creator and not have some of those point of views in the stuff that you create. And I feel like, when George Lucas was making Star Wars, some of that influence that he's seen about maybe Vietnam, World War II, definitely heavily influenced a lot of, kind of the way he portrayed some of his characters, how he portrayed some of the storytelling in his films. And if you look at a lot of that generational kind of filmmakers of the time, your James Camerons, your Ridley Scotts, your Scorseses, they all have that same type of influence, right? And you can kind of see it in the films that they make. Now, when you fast forward and you deal with the prequels, you still have that same baby boomer directing these movies, right? And you can kind of see the influence that maybe he's seen like in the 80s when it comes to like the political climate and all of those things, which maybe threw a lot of people off. But still, irregardless, that's just how it is. Now we fast forward to present time. A lot of these new creators now grew up during the 90s, sometimes the 2000s. And the political climate and the society climate that we're in right now has a lot of these different messages going on. Your Me Too movements, Black Lives Matter, women empowerment, inclusion, right? There's a lot of those things that are like big, heavy topics. And you can't help but see that creators are going to get influenced by that and add a little bit of that into the stuff that they create. Not a lot of them are heavy-handed with it. Some are. But that's just how it happens in generational creation. So those old fogies, the baby boomers, the Generation Xers that grew up with the original stuff, we maybe sometimes are not used to that stuff. And we're hoping for more of the stuff that we grew up watching and that we grew up loving. But this kind of themes, the thematic stuff that we see now are speaking to the current generation of the time. And that's why you have different set of fans. That's why you sometimes have backlash between the older fans versus the newer fans. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong, right? But everyone takes things differently. And I see Star Wars as a property that I love, that I will always support. But I'm not going to like everything, But there are some things that I am going to like. But I also understand, and I've come to the conclusion a while ago, that Star Wars will have something for everybody. Very much like Marvel, very much like DC, any major property out there that has a big following. I grew up reading comic books. I didn't read up all the comic books because there are certain comic books I didn't like. But sometimes those comic books would tie into other storylines, and I'll learn about it as time goes. But there's going to be something for everybody. And I think the more or the sooner people can just understand that and accept it, the better. But of course, the ones who are the most vocal are the ones who are always going to be on the negative side of things. That's just how it is. They bring up a good point about every time one of those hope-based movies or films that speaks about religion comes out, how maybe to a critic, someone who just criticizes a movie just because of the movie itself, may think it's a terrible movie, but you'll see the audience scores really up there. Why? Because these are the audiences that actually love that type of content, that are religious, that love the message and all. So of course they're going to speak very highly of it. Again, it's very much like politics too. You know, anytime something political is put out there, if you are on that side of the politics that is having a good light, then of course you're going to speak very highly of it, and vice versa, right? So it's always those who are the most vocal that end up becoming more of the minority, but they have the loudest voices, right? So it's very interesting how you put that into perspective just out of a freaking nerdy topic as Star Wars. You know, and it's interesting to see how things can get so easily politicized very easily when there's no need for it. But that's just how it is with the current fandom out there. And at the end of the day, it's just very, very interesting to see how these fans can politicize something like the Acolyte, or just like Star Wars in general. Arnold saying, yes, I don't like the actress in the last two films anyway. I think Daisy Ridley is a good actress. She's done some good things. That new movie that she's in, well, it's something about water, where she plays an English swimmer. I've heard she did a brilliant performance. So I haven't seen it yet, but I think she's a good actress. Arnold grew up watching the Clone Wars. T's back. Where are we at? Well, we finished the Acolyte conversation. We just talked about learning the news about Director Krennic being in season 2 of Andor, which is very exciting. Also, just reading about the Jedi Order movie starring Daisy Ridley that's being worked on, and how the director was talking about how she's approaching the film and kind of the backlash that is already there about the film. So, and we're just talking about the Star Wars fan base altogether. I was referring to the latest Red Letter Media video that was put out, and talking about some of the points they brought up about the fan base. So we talked about a lot of things. Aggressive. Are you kidding me? Fastest have to attack Star Wars. I'm from the South in America, and there's a whole downtown buildings dedicated to hate. They buy matching T-shirts, and yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, it sucks that we have to talk about that when all we really want to talk about is maybe just how much we love Star Wars or how much we love a certain property. But people are always going to take their own beliefs and their own, you know, viewpoints and add it to those kind of genres. You know, hey, it's not my Star Wars. Yeah, there's too many women in it. Blah. Yeah. What? The lead character is female and black? Oh, not my Star Wars. Come on, really? Oh, the creator is a lesbian? Oh, no. Oh, no, lesbian witches. No. It's all ridiculous. It's all really ridiculous. You know, but society's changing too. Sorry. You know, I mean, right now, the biggest thing is that, you know, the putting less importance on major figures in American history that are considered to be colonizers, right? So you can't have those statues up anymore. You have to take those statues down. You know, so there's like definitely a big move in here, but it's also very selective. You know, and it's just all over the place. It's crazy. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance, I definitely recommend watching that Red Letter Media video, because they bring up some very interesting points there. George Lucas attacked warmongers and became the most popular brand on earth. The charity that he's done in his lifetime is terrifying to the monsters of the world. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, if you look at the kind of the themes in his Star Wars movies, right? It's always like you have like the elite suppressors, right? Against like these little group of rebels that are just looking for a better life to live, but they're being controlled by these guys or threatened by these guys. How many times in history have we seen that happen, right? So like I said, Lucas borrowed a lot of ideas on things that he grew up seeing. You know, the effects of World War II, Vietnam, all those things. He and Red Letter Media did a good job at bringing up this interview. It was like a one-to-one interview between George Lucas and James Cameron, and he kind of put out there. He's just like, yeah, or sorry, Lucas was saying, yeah, in my movie Star Wars, Luke and Leia, I always saw them as Viet Cong. No, they're the Viet Cong. Which is like the first time I've heard him say that. And then he did a speech at Cannes because he was given like a lifetime award, and you could see like he gets mad whenever people are kind of throw at him like, "How come there's no females in your Star Wars?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? Princess Leia's female. She's the leader of the rebellion, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff." It's so interesting how things are, and the things that people will focus on. He just wants a damn good Star Wars movie series done. Absolutely. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. I don't look, when I see a show like this, like Acolyte, I don't think like, oh wow, they got a black character. Oh wow, there's a lesbian witches. I don't think of any of that stuff. I'm just thinking, okay, where are you going with the story? What are you introducing? Oh, this is new to the lore. I never once thought about how, oh, there could be sectors of people practicing the Force in their own ways, very much like religion, and they call it differently. They refer to it differently. They have their own rules about it. And of course, there's this other organization who's like, no, 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 you can't do that. Again, very much like religion. You can't do that unless we say it's okay, but you have to do it with our rules, right? It's just all fascinating, But I don't like nitpick on all these things. Just tell a good damn story. Make it believable. Make it something worth investing my time in. And if you have some pew pews and zung zung zung, then I'm a happy camper. I'm all happy about it. What's up, Kevin Davis? Kevin Davis with his usual stat drop prediction or whatever. Let's read what he has to say. Kevin Davis, Television Academy love to nominate Star Wars TV shows at the Emmys. The Acolyte and Ahsoka will get Emmy nominations. Kevin Davis, Tom Hiddleston will get Emmy nomination for Loki. Well, there you go. So if you all want to place bets in Vegas, Kevin Davis is usually pretty good with this stuff. I think Ahsoka and Acolyte will probably get nominated for visual effects. Maybe storytelling. I don't know. We'll see. What's up, Yadav? There's only 6 Star Wars. After all that, it's all fillers. When you say 6, are you just saying the original trilogy and the prequels? That's it? Arnold's playing God of War. Awesome. That's a great game series. I need to go back. I haven't played the more current generation God of War games. I played 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, I kind of fell off. So I need to go back and play those games. Yeah, so Yadav thinks that the prequels and the original trilogy are the only Star Wars that matters. And that's fine. But my question to you is that did you find any of the other Star Wars stuff to be exciting or interesting? Like, for example, Andor or Rogue One. I think Rogue One is probably one of the best Star Wars movies to come out after the prequels. Speaking of gaming, give us Knights of the Old Republic remake. I am right there with you, T. That's been long overdue. Long overdue. Who's the company that's currently working on that right now? I really hope it's not one of the Embracer teams, because that means we may never get to see it. Knights of the Old Republic remake. Oh, it's Aspire. Oh, they do not have a good track record when it comes to things. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time I heard about this is that they broke away from Embracer and they bought themselves out so that they could continue working on the Knights of the Old Republic remake. I think that's what's happening right now. I don't know when that's ever going to be revealed or released, but I would hope that we get to see it at least within our lifetime because I would love to play that. See, everyone else agrees too. Aggressive would love to see that. That would be so much fun. Arnold's trying to get used to the graphics for God of War. I'm assuming because you went so back, right? A new Battlefront would be fantastic too. I do agree. Kevin Davis, how much money do you see Despicable Me 4 making at the box office? Overall or opening weekend? I think opening weekend, it's opening July 4th weekend. So it's going to have a huge amount of attendance because of the holiday. So I'm going to say that maybe opening weekend, if Inside Out did 150, I don't think it's going to make as high as that, but it has a potential to do 90 to 100. Overall run, I don't know. It's hard to say. Inside Out 2 already is what, 700 million over that. I and it's only 2 weeks out. I think Despicable Me will have a great overseas turnout. So I think overall it may get as high as 600 to 700, I think. But I don't think it's going to be as strong as Inside Out. What about you, Kevin? What do you think? Damn, it was caught up in Embracer's nonsense. Yeah. Embracer, I mean that whole thing with Embracer, it's they gobbled up so many like companies and studios and they just ruined them all. It's just so sad to see. But Aspire was smart. They broke free. They bought themselves out. So fingers crossed that they could still come up with this remake that they're working on. Do I have autographs from famous stars? Not really. I'm not really like an autograph hound, or I don't get starstruck like that. I do have like I have Kevin Smith's autograph because I did meet him at a convention once. So he signed a Clerks movie poster for me and some of those like action figures. I have comic book guys. You know, I have their autographs on comic books. Like I have Chris Claremont, who is a very famous author. He wrote a lot of the X-Men comics and the Wolverine comics. Peter David. You know, I have several autographs like that, but I'm not really like a big autograph seeker. I think one of the biggest autographs that I have that at the time I didn't realize how big it was, but at the time he just happened to be there. And I was like, oh, really? He's that guy? Okay, I guess I'll get his autograph. I do have an autograph in an autograph book of Bob Kane, the one of the creators of Batman. And he signed his autograph and he even drew a little bat symbol. I have that in my autograph book. And at the time, I didn't realize how big of a deal that would have been. But now I'm like, holy shit, you mean I met that dude? You know, which is crazy to think about. And I do have Stan Lee's autograph also. And it's funny because I didn't seek out his autograph. I was at a convention. I was very young. And I gave a bag of comic books to my mom to hold. And I was going to check some of the other booths. And she walked her way to this area where Stan Lee was signing autographs. And she just walked up to Stan Lee and said, hey, my son is a big fan of yours, but I don't know which books you are responsible for. So she hands him the comic books I have in the bag. And he's going through every comic book. And it's like, oh, this is one of mine. And it's such a random Spider-Man issue. I think Paste Pot Pete was the big antagonist in this comic book. But he signed it anyway. And so I do have a Stan Lee signature on a very uh underwhelming issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Sorry, let me catch up on some of the other Yadav. I will give the direction in Force Awakens and Rogue One, but still acting and story-wise, they are not up to par with Star Wars. Okay. Again, it's all about your own taste and what you like. So that's perfectly fine. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people who would agree with you. Aggressive Inside Out 2 was so good. It was right now, it's definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. It's such a great movie. I think it's even better than the original. Arnold has an autograph of Roman Reigns. That's pretty cool. I like that. Bob Kane, how much? That is not going to ever be for sale. I tell you that. Aggressive. I did karate with the Red Ranger this weekend. Whoa! And I got him to sign my Rangers group pick. I got blue and red so far. Man, that's awesome. That's amazing. How did you come across doing karate with a Red Ranger? He's saying I have Christopher Priest on Black Panther and Deathstroke runs. Jeff Lemire on Bloodshot. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Oh, I also have Jim Lee's autographed. And that came about. That's actually a very funny story, actually. So, this was back when. So I'm in New York, right? And in New York, we used to have comic book conventions in hotels. Now we have them at the big Jacob Javits Center, which is a big convention center and all that. So every year we have the big major New York Comic Con. But we had these smaller comic conventions in hotels. And this was at the Hotel Pennsylvania, which I think is not there anymore. I think they tore it down to build something else. But this was a year after all of these major Marvel guys, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, to just to name a few, they all branched out and created Image. If you're into comics, you know the story. So there was going to be a big signing where you could meet Jim Lee, and he was going to be signing, comics and all. So I was with my friend, and we were going to where that hall was, where that kind of ballroom was, where the signing was being taken place. And we were on the lobby level, and it's on the second floor, I believe it was. So the lobby opened up. We walked into the elevator, and this random Asian guy walked in with us. And he's like, do you guys know where the Image signing is going to be? And I said, oh, I think it's this floor right here. So it opened up the first one. He's like, okay, thanks. He gets out, and then we kind of joked about it. It was like, haha, dummy, he doesn't know where to go. Not knowing who he was. We get up on the second floor, and then we hang out for a bit because it wasn't that time yet. Killing time. We finally go and walk to where the ballroom is, and we see that same guy, and it turned out that was Jim Lee. And we didn't know who Jim Lee was. We didn't know how he looked like, because comic book creators were not so heavily in media at the time, so we didn't know how they all looked like. So I was like, oh. We walked up to him, and he's like, hey, it's the guy from the elevator. It was like, yo, sorry we gave you the wrong directions. We actually honestly didn't know ourselves. It's like, it's all good. Oh, we laughed about it and all this. And he was only allowed to sign, or he was only supposed to sign 2 books. I had more than 2, but since we already had that interaction and we were joking a lot about things, he signed all of my books. And I think there were like 10 in total. So obviously he signed like all of his first issues that he did for Image at that time. I think I had the cover that he did for X-Men. The big gatefold cover that he did. So, and we had like a good laugh at everything. So I was able to meet Jim Lee, and that was a lot of fun. Aggressive, he was at Ranger Stop in Atlanta. Is Ranger Stop, is that like a big, what is Ranger Stop? For those of us who don't know. Arnold, I know someone who has an autograph from Stephen Hawking. Wow. That's crazy. How did Stephen Hawking sign it with his I'm sorry. Thank you for being a fan. I have autographed book by Carl Sagan. A book named Contact, and somehow it was a used book, but in those initial blank pages, he autographed it. Oh, that's awesome. It's awesome when you get something that you didn't even know was signed and it was signed. I'm assuming people are laughing. Yeah, I mean, how did Stephen Hawking sign that? That would be interesting to see. Thank you for asking for my signature. I am Stephen Hawking. I that happened to me once where this was a long time ago. One of my ex-girlfriends, she was big into Anne Rice, and I ordered a first edition of Interview with the Vampire. It was like hardcover, and it was like a special limited edition. And then when I received it, I had no idea, but it was actually autographed by Anne Rice herself. And I remember when I gave it to her, she like blew her lid. It's like, oh my God. So big annual Ranger convention in Atlanta. Oh, that's dope. Big news coming out of it was that production stopped on the most recent Power Rangers thing, and that might be the end. Oh, that sucks. What was the so I'm so out of the whole Power Rangers mythos and all that. Growing up, I was not a fan of the Power Rangers, but I had friends who were fans. What was the new iteration of Rangers? What was that going to be? Are they still doing the? Are they still borrowing from the Sentai shows in Japan and just turning it into and just Americanizing it and putting American actors in it? He said that was at the beginning of his illness. Oh, so he was still able to do stuff then. Do I know the Apple sound who you turn off the cell phone? I don't. I don't. I've never owned an Apple product. Correction. I've owned two. I do have the second generation iPad. And when I used to, in one of my companies I worked for, they gave me a work phone that was an iPhone. But other than that, I'm really not well versed in Apple products. Aggressive has a friend who worked as Anne Rice's creepy violinist with long hair, and she would like to keep around for book tours. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Aggressive, you have a lot of interesting connections or experiences. That's really cool. That's a joke. What was Stephen Hawking last words when it comes out of his sound? Oh, I get it. T, you like the newest Rangers movie? That was the one where was it Elizabeth Banks was the villain, right? And they made it was very millennial like. What I really liked, again, this is someone who's never watched Rangers or at all. I did see that fan film online where people were dying. Like I thought that was pretty cool. It was very dark. It was like a dark take on the Power Rangers. I thought that was pretty cool. It's funny. I never really watched any of the Power Ranger stuff, but I did watch episodes of Super Sentai from Japan. There's just something about like the Showa era type of shows that I really enjoy. Like right now, I'm enjoying watching a lot of like the Kamen Rider, the original Kamen Rider. So good. Or here in the States, it's known as Masked Rider. Aggressive, I don't know the relationship between Sentai and modern Power Rangers footage. The most recent iteration is on Netflix, Cosmic Fury Z. Black Blue Ranger is their leader. It's fine. Is it live action or is it animated? Also, what were your feelings about? Didn't they do like a reunion thing on Netflix where they mixed and matched Rangers from all the different American shows? And it's Trini's daughter that was the Yellow Ranger or something like that. There's an actor who was really unsympathetic to you. Met briefly, forgot the name, but the actor who played Batman. Yeah, that would be Ben Affleck. How did you meet Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck also looks like the type of guy that he just doesn't want to be bothered at all in public. I think recently somebody asked him, like, why does it seem like he looks angry when his pictures are taken? And he claims that he just has resting bitch face. I just think he just doesn't want to be bothered at all in public. Yeah, he does look like he's pissed off everywhere he goes. Was in Berlin, walked past me and just wanted a picture and pushed you away. Oh, wow. Really? Wow. Was he with anybody or was he by himself? Aggressive live action. Yeah, the newest reunion movie was a lot of fun. Jason couldn't make it because of the legal troubles and Tommy had just passed, right? But it was still cool. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, that was sad when Tommy passed away. Again, as someone who never watched the show, I knew who he was because he was like pop. He was part of pop culture at the time. You know, when especially when the first movie came out, the Power Rangers movie came out in the '90s, was it? Plus, I had friends who worked at a toy store. They worked at KB Toys, and I remember when those toys were selling like nuts. So, you know, I used to see them go crazy trying to deal with the crowds, especially when the first time, what was it, the white Megazord or something came out. Man, I saw fights break out in KB. It was crazy. Yeah, so I think I saw him first in Dazed and Confused, and in that character ever since. I'll never forget Ben Affleck from. I think the first time I saw Ben Affleck in any performance was Mallrats, the Kevin Smith movie. And it's funny, he kind of played like an asshole in that one, like a jerk. So I guess that persona in my mind kind of carried with him for a while. Even though he doesn't really play like an asshole in all of his movies, but I remember that character very, very heavily. He was alone and just wearing sunglasses. Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, what can you say? Some people are just like that. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a bad interaction with a celebrity. Oh yeah, Debbie Gibson. If you're familiar with who Debbie Gibson is, there was a time, and I brought this up before, so this shouldn't be new to some of you. I used to work at Starbucks, like in the late '90s. That was one of my first jobs after high school, and my store was in a very heavily trafficked area in Times Square in New York City. And so I used to see celebrities all the time. And the one time I saw Debbie Gibson because she was performing in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. She ordered a drink, and I was working the bar at the time, and it was busy. We're like this is like afternoon rush hour, right? So she immediately walked to the front of the line, and she's like hi, and I looked over and I recognized her right away. I was like, oh my god, hey, what's up, Debbie? And she's like, I'm waiting for my drink. It's like, oh, I haven't gotten yet, but your drink will be ready soon, Debbie. And she's like, it's Deborah. And I'm like, oh, we're doing that right now? Okay. Well, sorry, Deborah. Your drink is over here. As soon as it's ready, I'll have it for you right over here. And then she just kind of like did one of those things and kind of like backed up. And then when I was ready with her drink, I put it up on the counter. I was like, Deborah, your drink is ready, in a very sarcastic tone. And she's like, thanks. And she walked away. I'm just like, whatever, Debbie. And now you see her now, she goes by the name of Debbie Gibson. She kind of dropped that. I think this was during a time she was trying to be more professional. because she's on Broadway now. That went out the window. The minute people started forgetting her, you're like, all right, back to Debbie. So I would say that is probably one of the worst interactions I've had with a celebrity. One of the best interactions I had with a celebrity, I would say, is at one convention. I think we were like here at New York Comic Con. I was with some of my friends, and we were kind of like hanging around in like the lower levels, almost kind of near where the bathrooms were. And out came walking, who's the actress that played the cheerleader in Heroes? Heroes cast. Hayden Panettiere. She came out, and you could kind of tell she didn't know where to go. And we just saw her walking in, and she's like, "Oh, what's up, Hayden? You know, how you doing? You know, I didn't know you were at the con." And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, this is my first time here at Comic Con, and it's overwhelming. I'm actually trying to find like where blah blah blah." And we're like, "Oh, if you go here, go there." We kind of even showed her the map and all that. And she's like, "Oh, thanks, guys." And like, "Hey, do you mind if we just take a quick photo?" She's like, "Of course." It was her publicist that was trying to rush her out. She's like, wait, I want to take a picture with these guys. Nicest girl we've ever met. Like nicest celebrity we've ever met. She was so sweet. She really wanted to hang out and talk more. And the thing is, like, you just got to treat them as normal people. Have conversations with them instead of just like fanboying out with them, because that's when they get weird. They're like, all right, we don't know where this is gonna go. But she was like the sweetest person. She was so cool. Oh no, if we're in New York, yeah, anytime, man. I'll try to show you around some of the big spots, and then maybe we can go to like the Nintendo store together and all that. Um, Hayden actually had some issues. I think she had health issues. That's why she was kind of out of it for a while. I think she was at one point even trying to focus just on her family. But then she had some issues. I think she was suffering from major depression or something along those lines. She did an interview about it last year, I think, when she finally came out and spoke about all the struggles that she was having. Because she was on that show Nashville for a very long time. That was actually well received. But I think she was having some issues. That's why she kind of like took a break from acting. And I think she's slowly starting to pop up every now and then. I also didn't realize that she grew up in New York, so she's a New Yorker. Love it. Yeah, I think she's slowly trying to come back. She's being very um she's being very careful as to what she chooses to do. But it would be nice to see her back. I always found her to be very charming as an actress. Arnold. Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I know you love Jack Black. I mean, it sounded like you had like a great interaction with him too. So I could totally understand that. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the didn't she come back and Scream? The last Scream movie, wasn't she back? So I think that was the first time she actually came back as in an acting capacity. Scream 6, I think she was in, which came out, was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't know. So I think that's why she did that interview. She finally was able to talk about herself. He's saying Heroes is a show you wouldn't mind seeing remade. I I I think it's now is a good time to kind of bring that back if they ever wanted to. Like, I'm pretty sure you could tell some interesting stories, but at the same time, I feel like maybe it might be too close or similar to things that we're already seeing, like in The Boys. Because I do feel like the minute heroes lost me was when everyone started getting powers. It was a little bit too much, right? So if they found a way to tell the story, but controlling it a little bit more, then I would be all for it. But that show got totally ruined with the writer's strike. They didn't know what direction they were going anymore. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, now everyone has powers. I'm just like, come on. I hate when shows do that. You don't make it special anymore. Hey, what's going on? Nice to have you viewing and watching from Russia. How is life young? Maybe you're asking, how's life going? Life is fine. Can't complain. All I'm saying, never experienced that someone takes 10 minutes to sit down and talk to you. Yeah, that's how you know they're a cool dude. And I'm glad that you were able to experience that. I mean, Jack Black does seem like a very cool dude. Someone cool, like someone you'd love to have a beer with. Um, all right. Just a couple of more things I would love to talk about before we call it for the day. Dave Filoni. Arnold wants to date Emilia Clarke. Who wouldn't? Especially now since she's the strongest character in the Marvel Universe. But real quick, Dave Filoni gives an update on his Star Wars film. Nearly a year after it aired, Lucasfilm creative chief Dave Filoni popped up on the Happy Sad Confused podcast this week to reflect on Star Wars Ahsoka. Alongside that show stars Rosario Dawson and Hayden Christensen. They're doing heavy press promotion for Ahsoka because of the Emmys coming up. So they're really, really hoping that they'll have a good turnout. We know Filoni is writing a second season of the show, and as announced during the Star Wars Celebration event, is directing an untitled film that seems to be serving as a mashup of the Mandoverse series. Arnold, this is going back exactly to what you were asking about before. As for an update on the status of the film, Filoni says that the process of writing the second season of Ahsoka is helping him get a clear idea of where his film is headed, which is expected to be the culmination of the Mandoverse. As a result, the film sounds like it is a good while off as a sophomore run of Ahsoka takes precedence. Quote, I work in very long threads, and so telling a story, I always have to know where this is going. What's the outcome of what's this going to be? And fans who have followed me know this about my work about Clone Wars, and when Clone Wars started, I had a good idea of how it was going to end. It changed a little bit as it went on, but it's still very relative to things that happened. Because I've been writing season 2 of Ahsoka, things have clicked, and I have a much better idea about where things are going to go in his movie. And I will say I have an opening that I really like quite a bit, and I'm very excited about it for that picture. And I'm excited about the potential of doing it. But right now, I'm focused clearly on Ahsoka Season 2, as well as the rest of the galaxy and how it's spinning. Right now, one foot in front of the other, and for me, it's going to be normal development point the way I make these stories happen. So there you go. Filoni is also working with Favreau on his Mandalorian and Grogu film. That is also in heavily development. So there you go. That is what's happening with Filoni's Star Wars film. So it doesn't sound like we're going to get it anytime soon. And it does sound like we're going to get it after season 2 of Ahsoka. So we're talking maybe, 2028 maybe at this point? Yeah, he does like pushing legend stuff in in the things that he writes. I like that they're now open to doing that, because wasn't it like when Disney bought Star Wars, right? And the first kind of conference or presentation that they had, You had Kathleen Kennedy that was out there and was basically saying or giving us an update of what is included with their stories and what's not included. And they said that all the legend stuff is just that, legends, not part of canon. Everything that's happened, I guess, with like the Clone Wars show, and she mentioned certain books that were going to lead into their canon of Star Wars. So I know that left a lot of people kind of confused and maybe upset. So I think that now that they're choosing what to include from Legends is interesting, and it's something that they weren't doing before, but it's nice to see that they're doing now. Ahsoka and Mando sex scene. I feel like Arnold is working on some fan fiction, y'all. Darth Bane in Clone Wars. Will we ever see Darth Bane in live action? I wonder. I don't know. That would be interesting, I think, overall. All right, y'all. I think that's it for headlines for now. I'll be around. I'm going to stay here for another 10 minutes. So whatever you guys want to talk about, let's chat. Let me just check my phone as I do my usual, making sure the world's not burning outside. And by the way, for those of you who are watching, the next time I'll be live on the channel will be Friday, like around noonish time. I'm gonna hopefully I can get live. I can go live like around 12 noon. And on that stream, I'll be giving my review of A Quiet Place Day 1 and Kind of Kindness. Those are the movies I'm planning to watch tomorrow in the theater. So if you want to hear me talk about those movies and give my thoughts and review of them, then by all means, come on and hang out. And then, of course, we'll talk about any of the latest headlines that has dropped this past week. Some Kevin Feige stuff that has dropped today because he was on the Marvel podcast and he revealed some interesting facts about Fantastic Four. So we'll talk about that on Friday. What's my plan for today? After I get off stream, I'm going to actually do some work, some of my other work, and I'm going to try to edit some videos. I have some videos that I kind of filmed that I haven't had a chance to sit down and edit. And I'm going to try to start working on those things. Did the pictures work? I have the pictures. Thank you again for emailing them to me. It's so fantastic. I'm going to see what I can do with them. And if I can use them on the channel, because I like how it turned out. I'm really considering changing that to the profile picture, but we'll see. I also want to see if I could turn it into some sort of template for something, because I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe I can template it as part of my thumbnail. So I just haven't had the chance to like sit down and fool around with it, but I am planning to. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Arnold was so nice enough to do this nice rendition of me. Let's see. I'm going to see if I could share that with everybody here. I was so happy with how this all turned out. Let's see. Here we go. Look how cool that is. I love how this came out. I was like shocked when Arnold shared this with me. I was like, wow, this is so awesome. I love it. So yeah, so I'm going to see how I can utilize this on the channel. I think it will be like a great banner or part of my thumbnail and stuff. So thank you so much, Arnold, for that. I still can't believe it. Today, just randomly came to visit live. So what's the channel about? Love this live. Well, thanks, Yadav. I really appreciate that. So What I do here on the channel is I like talking about pop culture. I do a lot of movie reviews. So, movie reviews, trailer reactions. Obviously, we talk about shows like, Star Wars related shows, Marvel related shows. The lives are basically just me talking about, for example, Wednesdays, I will talk about The Acolyte, right? Because that's like the newest show. And since I'm talking about The Acolyte, I will talk about Star Wars related stuff for the most part. Fridays are usually my movie review days. So I always watch movies that come out on Thursday. So that's why this week the new movies will be Kind of Kindness and the new Quiet Place movie. Mondays, I talk about the weekend box office. We'll talk about what was popular over the weekend. And now that House of Dragon is showing on Sundays, I usually will talk about the House of Dragon as far as the episode recap and kind of talking about it. So if you're into any of that stuff, obviously would love to have you come back, have conversations about these topics. I like talking about like the latest news in pop culture, mostly movie related. So I do a lot about that stuff. Sometimes I talk about video games here on the channel too. Haven't had a chance to talk much about those things, but anytime there's like a new uh, reveal or presentation, like I covered the Summer of Gaming Festival, I covered the Xbox presentation, I covered the Nintendo presentation, I talked about the state of play, so we talk about all of those things. So, hopefully I can do more video game related stuff on the channel. It's just me, so it's hard to do as much as I want to do, but at the end of the day, I just love having the conversation with all of you guys about these things. Thank you for the sub. I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, it's just great to, now that I do these streams, because I never really, when I first started doing YouTube, I was a big streamer, but I used to stream on Twitch. And I had a small following there, but I realized that YouTube was more of a place I wanted to be because I loved editing video and I loved the opportunity to edit video, and I want everything to be centralized in one location. So I know it's hard for people to jump from Twitch to YouTube and vice versa. So I came back to YouTube. I didn't do the live stuff. I did more just, long format video. And this year I said, you know what? I think it's time to go back to live so I could really have a connection with you guys. Whoever decides to want to like watch and hang out and talk about the same passions. So so far it's been turning out to be a great choice. And I've met a lot of you guys here, Arnold, Scorched, now I see T and Yadov. So Aggressive has popped up a couple of times. So very, very, very happy to have you guys on board. And there's other people who aren't here right now, but they'll pop up as well. So the low-key geek army. Is that what we're calling us? Is that what you guys would like to call this group? The low-key geek army? It's always hard to like figure out like what you're going to call your community, Like, what is it? The Real Rejects, their thing is that they're the reject nation, right? And then there are other YouTubers that they call their community legends, right? Oh, the legends. Thank you so much, legends. Yes, I am. This is part of the remains of Chewbacca. Most specifically, this is his chest part, and I am drinking directly from his chest right now. Yes. Mmm. And it tastes so good. Ooh, sorry. It's coffee, so of course it'll give me some gas. I'm a hunter, yes. One of these days, maybe I'll have like a Wookiee head on my wall. At one of these conventions I went to, they had some company did this prop where you could have a tauntaun head on your wall, as if you hunted and killed a tauntaun. I thought it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. A giant tauntaun head mounted on your wall like that. I just think that's so crazy. Arnold, were you the one that said that you were going to be attending a convention soon over there in Germany? Was it Gamescom? I think it is. I think that's the name. Was that you? Again, everyone, before I head on out for the day, don't forget hit that like button. Would greatly appreciate it. Obviously, it helps with the algorithm. It helps people like Arnold and Yadav and T, find us. Because, the YouTube algorithm will push it to people with like-minded interests and topics. So, let's help grow this community. Let's help grow the low-key geek army, as Arnold likes to put it. You're at Gamescom every year. When is Gamescom exactly? I hear a lot of interesting reveals are going to be available there this year. Especially you're going to have a lot of first-time chances to try certain games that aren't out yet. Usually in August. Okay. I can't wait to hear about your experience once you get there. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, it's in Cologne? Oh, nice. Is it always in Cologne? Yeah, if convention used to be fun, now all is just money. I don't know if it's just me. I think it used to be less money, more focused on the fun part. You're not wrong, Yadav. I feel like there's a lot of the major conventions, like the big ones, that are it's focused on marketing. It's a lot of marketing. I do miss the old days of conventions where you just have people going there to celebrate their fandom, right? And if they're comic book collectors, they you see them having conversations with comic book dealers and retailers, talking about stories and all that. But now the bigger conventions, like your New York Comic Cons, your San Diego's, your whatever, it's all about marketing at this point. The minute Hollywood started to infiltrate San Diego, you knew things were changing. I mean, San Diego used to be focused just on comic book collecting. Now it's where Hollywood premieres a lot of new things. So it's really, really crazy. That's why I kind of appreciate Star Wars Celebration, because I've been to two already, and by far, that is like my favorite convention now, because you really just have a group of people who share the same passion. All they want to do is talk about that passion. And yeah, it's still marketing and they're still trying to sell you things, but it's not like overbearing like a lot of these other major conventions. And plus, the people are so nice at Celebration. Arnold, bro, it's very, very expensive, but you're not forced to buy something, but you can't get around without money. Pay 30 euros for a ticket, but I usually spend 600 euros there in 2 days. Yeah. Dude, I'm like that with every convention I go to. It's like the running joke I always have with my friends is like, I have a love-hate relationship with conventions because I go for the experience, for the atmosphere, for the cool meetups or conversations I may have with people. Maybe the nice panel that I get to see a creator talk about something. But I always end up spending so much money. So it sucks that I have to spend money to spend more money It's like I'm buying ticket, I'm buying an admission to go somewhere so I can spend more money. It kills me every time, but I can't. I fall in that trap all the time. It's like I was invited to go to a video game convention. Too many games. It's one of the biggest conventions for video games here, especially on the East Coast. And me and my friend, who we're big into retro games, and I've never been, and he's been several times. And he's like, "Yeah, it's kind of cool, nice environment. If you're ever looking for something, specifically, you could usually find it there." And I thought about it. And I was like, I want to go, but then I looked at the admission price. The ticket was like $75. And I'm like, why am I spending? This is just for one day now. Why would I spend $75 to go to what I consider to be like a flea market just to go to have the opportunity to buy stuff? And I was like, nah, not this year. I'm not in the mood for that this year. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Even people change. I remember I used to make random friends just through sharing opinions. Yeah, it's hard because with regular conventions, it's such a mishmash and mix of different fandoms all together. And a lot of the fandoms are very specific, right? That's why when I go to Celebration, and I don't know if Aggressive is here, and maybe he could talk about the Rangers convention he went to. When it's more specific, everyone shares the same passion. I feel like it's easier to talk to people in those environments, in those atmospheres. That's why I like Celebration. Arnold saying 60% are really there because of cosplay. Yeah, that's New York Comic Con. I feel like that's the same thing. He's saying the exclusive collectibles can sometimes get me. I'm a victim of that myself, especially if it's like a limited edition of something that I'm into. Oh, I hate it. When I used to be into Funko Pops, oh my God, I would go nuts for those stupid damn pops, and I would hate myself for it. And then I realized at the end of the day, I just have this very unhealthy obsession, and I need to stop. And I quit. I quit collecting Funko Pops cold turkey. I'm done. And the crazy thing is that Funko knows it too. That's why if you ever want to visit their booth at any convention they're at, you have to go through a lottery system. Just to go and buy something from their booth, you have to win the lottery. Get out of here with that nonsense. If it's Darth Revan or Deathstroke, I'm broke. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And Arnold, that's mean. Don't say that. That's mean. But let's just say there are a lot of people out there who love to cosplay, and maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. But if it makes them happy and they're not harming anyone, then by all means, let their freak flag fly. Because, people just find a lot of joy in the cosplay. I've never been one of them, but actually, you bring up Darth Talon. That just reminded me, now that we're talking about cosplay, someone I know, his sister cosplayed as her at a New York Comic Con, maybe, I want to say 7 years ago. And I don't know if she won the contest, but I think she got up there. She was pretty close. It just hit me. Because I remember I was hanging out with them, and she went up on stage to do her poses as she was in this competition. So funny. Totally forgot about that.
I'm gonna come.
Arnold, you're nuts. I love it. He says, I have a full Darth Revan armor and helmet. Ooh, that's cool. Do you cosplay too when you go to conventions, T? The only time I guess you could say I cosplayed. The only time I ever cosplayed at a convention, I was actually working the convention. So many moons ago, I used to have a business where I sold imported Japanese anime stuff. Yeah, I was able to get partnerships from Japan, legit companies, not the bootleg shit. So I used to have a company called Anime Gamer. And what I focused on was anime related goods, toys, plushes, stationery, keychains, shirts, all those things. But I also focused on the trading card games. There were so many trading card games at the time. Your Naruto's, your Dragon Balls, even Full Metal Alchemist had a trading card game at the time. Magic, all those things. HeroClix was another big game. So I worked these major conventions on the East Coast. And during one of them, I decided that I was going to cosplay. And I dressed up as, I forgot the character's name, but the guy in Naruto who smokes a cigarette. So because I had the beard, I had the vest, I had the headband. So I did the whole thing. And everyone always told me that I kind of look like that guy. So I did that. And I think a lot of people thought I looked cool. And that was the only time I ever cosplayed. But I did it like at my booth. So it was kind of like a nice draw. People can come and talk to me. I'll say I also had a full armor with my ex-girlfriend, but I don't know if it's allowed. Are you really joking, Arnold? I don't know. No, it's creepy in the corner of the room, so I can shit myself every time I walk in. That's funny. Yadav cosplay 3 times, not in convention, though. Marty from Back to the Future. Nice. Hinata from Haiku. And recently, Rocky in Gray Sweat. Okay, I don't know who the last guy is, and I don't know who Hinata is. But that's awesome. Marty from Back to the... I used to dress up a lot during Halloween. I did dress up a lot during Halloween. But at conventions, I don't ever dress up. I don't ever go in cosplay. And also, everyone, you could be... Oh, Rocky from the Rocky movies. Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, so you're dressed up as him, but like in the training montage, right? With the gray sweats that he used during his training. That's kind of cool. That's unique. That's different. Arnold, you could be One Punch Man. I could see that. But you're too bulky. I feel like you're too One Punch Man is very slim, right? I actually knew someone who dressed up as One Punch Man, and he looked very much like him. Because he was, not only was he Asian, but he was short and also very skinny. So he showed me a picture, and oh my God, I was like, you just knocked it out of the park. You look just like that, dude. Azuma, yes. Yadav, yes. I dressed up as Azuma. So I remember when I used to take cigarette breaks, I would still be in my, Leaf Village vest and my bandana with the crest in front of it. And I would have my cigarette and people were like, hey, can I take your picture? I'm like, I guess. Sometimes I would forget. They're like, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of look like this dude. I was saying I'm going all rocket by Guardians of the Galaxy, who had too many cheesesteak sandwiches.
Wow.
We need to get Arnold a cheesesteak sandwich. He loves talking about cheesesteak sandwiches. I'm so hoping you can make your way to Philadelphia so that you could really experience the glory that is the cheesesteak sandwich. Now you said it, you really Azuma. You really think I look like Azuma? Let's see if this will work. I guess you could kind of picture it without the glasses, of course, right? And just imagine me. I don't have a cigarette. I quit smoking a while ago, but you know, you can imagine. Although he doesn't have this part, you know, and there was a time when I didn't have this part, so I really just had this. So, oh yeah, absolutely. But New York, we don't really have good cheesesteak sandwiches. We have other great stuff. So, and of course, I'm gonna, you know, I'll take you to the best pizza spots. That's for damn sure. Yeah, it's the beard that does the trick, right? When there was a point when my beard was more pointy, and a lot of people back in the day used to also say I looked like, if you're familiar with the series Lupin, Lupin the Third or Rupon Sensei, I look like is it Genjin, the other guy, the guy with the hat? I forgot who's the. Let's see. Let's see. Who is the name? Gaijin? Ginjin? I forget his name. Jigen? I'm just throwing out names at this point. Ralph? Let's see. Let's see if I can pull up an image here. Here we go. Because there was also a time I used to wear a lot of fedoras. So a lot of people would say that I look like his buddy, this guy. Again, I'm all characters that smoke. Because I used to smoke back then. So yeah. This is one of my favorite animes of all time. I love this anime series. It's so good. If you've never seen it, give it a chance because it is so good. Jigen, yes. I think that's how you pronounce it, Jigen. Woman spot. Oh, you mean pizza spots, right, Arnold? Yes, of course. I can. You could go through all the Master of American Dragon. Yeah, the hat guy is Jigen. Yeah. A lot of people are saying that I look like him also. What time is it? Oh, it's 4:27. All right, guys. I think because I do have some things I need to take care of today. Um, do you know him? I don't think I do. Let me see. Master of American Dragon. Oh, you're talking about the cartoon. Jake Long, is it? American Dragon? I've never seen this show. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I've never seen this show. It looks cool though. I will say that. This was like a Disney Channel cartoon series, right? Yeah, again, it just shows you like I never grew up with the Disney Channel stuff. like the Kim Possibles. I've never seen any of that stuff. I was too much of a Nickelodeon kid. Too much. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that stuff. It's just that was what I was more focused on, I guess, at the time. Looking forward to the next live. Thanks, Yadav. I really appreciate that. So like I said, I'll be back live again on Friday. I hopefully, fingers crossed, I could do it at 12 noon exactly Eastern time. If not, it'll be a little after that. T, thank you so much for the subscribing. I appreciate that you love the vibes here. Again, we just love hanging out, chilling, having great conversations, talking about the same topics and all. So really, really appreciate it. Definitely see you all next time. Until then, let's play this music. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your days, evenings, rest of your week until the next time I see you. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. May the force be with you all. And I'll see you all next time. All right, peace out, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks again, everyone. Really appreciate it. Last shout out to Kevin Davis, Scorched, Arnold Wentel, T, Yadav. Who else am I missing here? Aggressive from before. Any other ones to shout out? I hope I'm not missing anyone, and if I am, I apologize. Clone Wars for Life, who made it out quick, just briefly. Hope everyone's doing well. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.